Order. We start with questions to the Minister of the Cabinet Office, Lawrence Turner.
Question number 1, please, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
I should start, Mr. Speaker, by just referring to my own entries in the Members' Register for royalties to my books, my own background as a historian answering this question, and thank my honourable friend for such an excellent opening question. So he will be pleased to hear that the Government will consider resumption of the official history programme, which I know is of particular interest to him. And indeed, work is continuing on 2 previously commissioned studies, one on the history of the Joint Intelligence Committee and one on the history of the UK's nuclear deterrent.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I draw the House's attention to my Vice Chairship of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Archives and History. I strongly welcome the statement that the Right Honourable Member has just made to the House. For more than 100 years, the official history programme provided valuable insight on matters such as war, peace and social policy. The Pilling Review did conclude that it should continue, so it's a welcome update that new works will be commissioned. May I ask the Secretary of State if further updates will be given to the House on the progress on commissioning those new works?
Mr. Speaker, yes, absolutely, and I think historical perspective improves the work of government 100%. This programme began in 1908, Mr. Speaker. It was concentrated then on naval and military matters. It was expanded by Harold Wilson in 1966 to look at peacetime matters as well, and I certainly will update the House on commissioning new works.
Jim Shum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Minister very much for that answer? Whenever we go round to get our tickets on a Wednesday for PMQs, you'll see the story of the women's suffragette movement on the wall. What assessment has the Minister made of the importance of teaching the women's suffrage movement as a compulsory component of the official history programme, particularly regarding its role in advancing democratic participation and strengthening pupils' understanding of civic rights and responsibilities such as voting?
I absolutely agree with the honourable gentleman on the importance of teaching the campaign for women's suffrage. I should also update the honourable gentleman as well, seeing as he's asked the question, that the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland is also currently overseeing a significant history project that is akin to the official history programme covering the period of the Troubles.
Right, let us come to Gareth Bacon.
Number 2, Mr. Speaker.
Minister, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With your permission, I will answer questions 2 and 5 together. The issues and delays facing a number of civil servants and pension scheme members in accessing their pensions after a lifetime of service is completely unacceptable. The Government is overseeing a robust recovery plan for the service and also to ensure there is support available to help those being impacted. My right honourable friend, the Paymaster General, has met the Chief Executive of Capita to set out what the Government expects, and we will do all we can to hold Capita to account to deliver the high standards people deserve.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the Minister for her answer because, like many honourable members across all sides of the House, I've been getting correspondence from former civil servants whose payments are being excessively delayed since Capita took over. I note what the Minister says about the Secretary of State meeting with the Chief Executive of Capita, but would she commit to a full review of the service that Capita provided so far, and would she commit to come to this House and either give a verbal statement or a written statement about the actions that are taking place in order to make this work better?
I'd like to thank the member for his question. The priority right now is to ensure that this robust recovery plan is completed and we get a normal service as quickly as possible. Of course, we will continue to update the House.
Votes.
I welcome my honourable friend to her place. My constituents, Richard, Peter and Chris, all plan to retire in January and all gave at least the required notice to get their pension. And I've got many other cases of people waiting as well. Yet January has been and gone, as has February. And despite repeated attempts to receive their pensions and hours in phone queues, these poor people haven't seen a penny. So can the Minister please update me on when she expects a return to proper service levels and whether she will look at what compensation could be made available by my CSP and Capita to those who face such serious financial hardship?
Minister.
I'd like to thank my honourable friend for raising this issue and express how sorry I am to hear about the distress caused to Richard, Peter and Chris. It is completely unacceptable. There is a timetable in our recovery plan and I encourage her to write to me so the team can look into this particular case. Thank you.
Speaker, a constituent approached me in January having applied for his pension over 6 months prior with no resolution. He has been forced to draw on personal savings simply to get by. Will the government introduce a redress scheme for pensioners that were forced to deplete their own savings or even take out commercial loans?
I'd like to thank the member for raising this issue on behalf of her constituent. There are hardships loans available and there is also a statutory complaints procedure in place that will determine whether compensation is appropriate, and I urge honourable members to direct their constituents to that. Thank you.
Johnson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Our manifesto promised the biggest wave of insourcing for a generation. So can the Minister explain when this will happen? Because Capita aren't going to fix the pension issues for thousands until June this year, according to the Permanent Secretary. And to add insult to injury, Capita have been awarded a contract for the civil service payroll contract for 250,000 workers, covering many large government departments. So when is the government going to stop continuing to reward failure by issuing contracts to these outsourced companies?
I'd like to thank my honourable friend for raising this issue. I understand the frustration. She would know that the contract was actually given under the previous government in 2023. I'd like to reassure her that existing KPIs have been enhanced and strengthened to deliver tighter performance expectations and higher penalties for severe failure. These have already applied in respect to Capita's performance with recent issues and delays in administering the civil service pension scheme.
All right.
Mr Speaker, the privatisation of the delivery of the civil service pension scheme has been nothing short of catastrophic. But the government were well warned that Capita were ill prepared for a job of this size, but they pressed ahead regardless. So while Capita must shoulder much of the blame, the Cabinet Office has serious questions to answer for their responsibility in this fiasco. But will the Minister start by apologising to those in my Argyll, Bute and South Lochaber constituency, some of whom after a lifetime of service were left facing penury because of their part in this hopeless mismanagement of this transfer?
I'd like to thank the honourable member for raising this. As I have said, the contract was given under the previous government. We do have the right to hold Capita to account, which we are doing, and I am sorry to hear of the difficulties and distress that his constituents are facing, and I encourage him strongly and all members to be in contact with me and my team so we can look into that and resolve it as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My constituent Stephen retired almost a year ago after a long career in public service and yet still is unable to access his pension. Will ministers meet with me to discuss his case? I appreciate there's a recovery scheme underway, but this is completely unacceptable.
Thank you for raising the case regarding your constituent Stephen. Of course, I will meet with my honourable friend to discuss it further and resolve it as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Dr. Jimson.
Question number 3, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
Mr Speaker, with your permission, I'll answer questions 3, 14 and 20 together. Since leaving the European Union, never has it been more important that we work alongside the EU in the global context we face. It is in our country's interest to have a stronger trading relationship and stronger security relationship. Our new strategic partnership with the EU is good for bills, good for jobs and good for borders, and we continue our negotiations ahead of the next summit.
Dr. Jimson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Members opposite Reform promised us that by torching our relationship with Europe, it would make us richer and it would make us stronger. They were wrong on both counts. Higher import barriers, driving up costs by £200, and beyond that as well, a continent whose divisions are wider, making us weaker. So can the Minister set out how he will show, how this government will show the courage needed to build our relationship with Europe, to make life here more affordable and make us stronger?
Mr Speaker, we are building that stronger relationship every week to improve our economic cooperation and drive growth in this country. The EU is our biggest market, and the deals we are negotiating on emissions, on energy trading, on food and agriculture trade will reduce costs for businesses, offer better prices and more choice to consumers.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As my constituents head off to beaches in Barcelona, open-top buses in Barca and city breaks in Copenhagen over Easter, they'll be sending holiday snaps and making calls home to their families. So can the Minister update the House on discussions he's had with his European counterparts on cutting roaming charges for UK travellers, which came back to bite Brits thanks to the Tories' botched Brexit?
Mr Speaker, those trips sound absolutely wonderful, and I think my honourable friend is right to raise the issue. It impacts many families travelling to Europe. The Government works to strengthen the UK's relationship with the EU on a number of fronts, and I will make sure that this issue is considered as well.
Mr Speaker, I welcome the Government's changed approach to our vital relationship with the EU, and as a member of the PPA, I know how welcome this has been by our partners in Europe, as well as by my residents in Exeter. Ahead of the next session of the PPA later in March, can the Minister set out what is the agenda for deepening cooperation and trust beyond the agenda agreed at last May's EU-UK summit?
To my honourable friend, at this year's summit, the EU and the UK have agreed commitments over a wide range of areas, from trade, youth opportunities to security and defence cooperation. We're making good progress on all these, but as my honourable friend says, there is now a forward programme when this government will not be restricted by ideology. We take a ruthlessly pragmatic approach across different sectors as to what is in our national economic interest.
Minister Maitland.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. After at least 15 major U-turns, it is helpful to check which promises the government still intends to keep. So, on the 22nd of July 2024, when I asked the Prime Minister whether he could promise that he would not accept the automatic application of EU rules unless they have been specifically approved by this Parliament, he answered simply yes. So can the Minister say that it's still the Government's position that we will not be required to adopt new European Union legislation?
Mr Speaker, of course there will still be a role for Parliament in the mechanism, and that is set out in the common understanding last May. But let me just say to the honourable gentleman, because the party opposite has to own the choice that they are making here. What we are saying is, on our food and drink agreement, we will take away costs from businesses, we will take away red tape, and we will have a downward pressure on food prices. They will want, at the next election, to put that red tape back and put those costs up. That's their choice, and I welcome the debate with them.
No, the Minister knows very well that the choice was that of the biggest democratic exercise in UK democratic history, and his party promised to respect that referendum, instead is seeking to row back on it. So members of the House and the wider public will have heard that the Minister very clearly did not rule out the UK having to adopt new European Union legislation. Now, he'll know from his time as Shadow International Trade Secretary that we'd never accept a trade agreement, the arbiter being an institution of one side. So can he at least rule out having the European Court of Justice as a body adjudicating in any disputes that follow from his reset?
Mr. Speaker, he hasn't read the common understanding and the mechanism that is set out. There is an independent arbitration panel where the role of the European Court of Justice is restricted to the interpretation of EU law, but not binding on the overall decision of the panel. You ought to read the detail in the agreement. We were talking about history earlier. My best piece of advice to the honourable gentleman is do his research before he asks his questions.
Chris Hinchcliffe.
Question number 4, Mr. Speaker.
Secretary Jones.
Mr. Speaker, since coming into office, this government has established the Ethics and Integrity Commission to strengthen standards across the public sector. The Prime Minister has strengthened the independent adviser's ability to open investigations into ministerial misconduct, and with the Public Office Accountability Bill, we're introducing new duties of candour for public officials with criminal and disciplinary consequences for those that fall short.
Chris Hinchcliffe.
Mr. Speaker, over the last 25 years, companies that have donated tens of millions of pounds to political parties have been granted government contracts worth more than £60 billion. Mr. Speaker, I think it is pretty obvious that to the public, these cosy, influential and lucrative relationships appear to be the precise opposite of high standards in public life. So does the Minister agree with me that companies donating to political parties should be automatically disqualified from government contracts?
Secretary Jones.
I thank my honourable friend for his question, and I can assure him in the House that under this government, political donations have no bearing on the award of government contracts whatsoever. Public procurement rules require contracts to be awarded fairly and transparently and are rigorously scrutinised to deliver the best value for the taxpayer. And under the Procurement Act of 2023, the government has strengthened measures to be able to take action against those where there's any evidence of wrongdoing.
Good job.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Why did the member for Makerfield resign as a Cabinet Office Minister at the weekend?
I refer you to his statement.
Alex Burkhardt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On his visit to Washington in February last year, the Prime Minister and Peter Mandelson had an undisclosed meeting with US data company Palantir. Palantir at the time was a client of Global Counsel, the company in which Peter Mandelson retained a commanding share, and later that year Palantir received a direct award for £240 million from this government. Given the apparent conflict of interests, will the Minister agree to publish the full details of that meeting in February last year and explain why it wasn't disclosed at the time?
I thank the honourable member for raising this particular contract. Since he's last asked the government this question, we have done some research, and the original contract was awarded by Mr. A. Burkhardt, Mr. Speaker, under the last administration, with a direct ministerial award for the contract that was then renewed at the subsequent awarding that he refers to. And he asked me for the disclosure of information, and that will, of course, be done under the humble address. Alex Burkhardt.
I never had an undisclosed meeting with Palantir, with a person, I never had an undisclosed meeting with Palantir with a man who was advising that company. This is something entirely different, and the Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister knows full well it is. There was an undisclosed meeting between the Prime Minister and this company in February last year. That should not have happened. This looks, to all intents and purposes, like a conflict of interests. Will the Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister agree to publish this information? He says it's within the scope of the humble address. The humble address was about the appointment of Lord Mandelson. This is not about the appointment of Lord Mandelson. This is about a meeting that the Prime Minister and Mandelson had in February 2025. Will he please publish the details of that meeting and ensure that the new Cabinet Secretary looks in to what happened at that meeting and everything between that meeting and the direct award?
The humble address, Mr. Speaker, does deal with the matters in question, but I'll just remind the member that the question he's asking about is about the extension of a contract that was awarded under the previous government. To suggest that it was a new contract that had been in any way related to the meeting is incorrect.
Right. Liberal Democrat spokesperson Lisa Smart.
Much, Mr. Speaker. The creation of the government post of Special Representative for Trade and Investment and the appointment of Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor to that post raises deeply alarming questions about how previous governments treated powerful men who abused their positions. And we are proud on these benches to have secured the release of all relevant files around that appointment. This government has told us repeatedly that it supports such transparency. So could the Chief Secretary set out both what deadline has been set for the files to be assembled in accordance with the humble address, in order that they be released as soon as police investigations allow, and could he confirm the number of civil servants the government has allocated to this task?
I thank the honourable member for her question. The humble address that was put to the House by the Liberal Democrat benches is being managed by the Department for Business and Trade as the appointing department for the previous role of the Special Envoy for Trade and Investment. The Cabinet Office and the Cabinet Secretary, of course, will be working with the department to bring forward those documents as soon as possible. I'm afraid I don't have to hand the number of officials specifically working on humble addresses, but I can inform the House it's a significantly higher number than it was a few weeks ago.
Lisa Smart.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Government ministers, including the Prime Minister, have repeatedly told the House that Lord Mandelson should lose his peerage. And yet, weeks on, no concrete steps forward can be seen. No legislation has been brought forward, and even in the face of the appalling allegations, Mandelson appears safe from being thrown out for a breach of the Lord's Code of Conduct. Does the Chief Secretary recognise how preposterous it is that this unelected figure has still not been removed, or how impotent it makes the government look? And does he recognise that what we need isn't just to throw out one disgraced peer or to tinker by abolishing the hereditaries, but root and branch reform of our entire second chamber, including finally making it democratic?
The honourable member is right to make the point that we need to bring forward rules that allow provisions to apply to all and any peers that needs to be removed from the other place for particular reasons. That's why the government's not put forward a specific piece of legislation in respect of Lord Mandelson, but is in the process of constructing a bill that will be able to deal with these cases in the round, and I look forward to bringing that bill to the House shortly.
Question 6, Mr Speaker.
Jones.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This Labour government is focused on delivering for every part of the country. Over the last few weeks, we have signed a £50 million defence growth deal with the Welsh Government and announced plans to build 7 new Welsh railway stations through £14 billion of investment. We've halved tariffs on Scottish whisky following the Prime Minister's successful visit to China, and we've progressed our child poverty strategy by voting for legislation to remove the 2-child cap, which in Northern Ireland alone will benefit over 17,000 children. In my role as Minister for Intergovernmental Relations, I convene Ministerial standing committees regularly with representatives from the devolved government, and we've most recently discussed election security and preparedness for the May elections.
Mr Speaker, my constituents in Gower need both governments focused on what matters to them, the cost of living, jobs and public services. Does the Chief Secretary agree with me that with Labour governments in Westminster and Cardiff, that is exactly what we're getting? And does he agree with me that neither the distraction and ideological fantasies of the Greens nor the division and disruption of reform will help Wales move forward into a new era?
I thank my honourable friend, and the distraction of the Reform Party or the Green Party is not one we have the benefit of this morning, because none of them have come to the chamber to take part in these questions. But she is right to point out that when two Labour governments are working together, it delivers real change for people in Wales. After 14 years of a Conservative government that ignored the Welsh government in Wales, we have delivered on rail, on AI growth zones, on defence, on jobs, on the highest level of spending since devolution began to get the NHS waiting lists down, and we will continue to do that, working together with the First Minister, Leonard Morgan, and her team in Cardiff.
David Mundell.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Does the Chief Secretary share my profound disappointment that once again the SNP is seeking to frame the Scottish elections as being about a divisive independence referendum rather than about devolved powers on which their record is so woeful?
Hear, hear.
I agree, Mr Speaker, that when I go on visits to Scotland to talk to voters preparing for this May elections, they talk to me about the quality of their public services, about how the NHS in Scotland is woefully performing compared to in England, about how the Scottish National Party and government in Scotland will block investment into nuclear energy and jobs, into defence industries and jobs, and that is exactly why, under Anna Sauer as the next Labour First Minister in Scotland, exactly as I've just explained in Wales, it will show the power of two Labour governments working together to deliver for the people of Scotland.
Yeah.
7, please, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This government recognises the enormous value of our cooperative sector. It is why the Office of Impact Economy is already working closely with other departments, including the Department for Business and Trade and Treasury, to grow the cooperative sector and maximise its social and economic impact, helping to deliver the promise of national renewal the country voted for at the last election. I personally look forward to working with him in his role as Chair of the Social, Cooperative and Community Economy APPG and the wider sector to build on this.
Patrick Early.
Thank you, sir. I thank the Minister for that answer. Given the Government's commitment to growing the cooperative sector, will the Minister commit to working across Government, specifically with MHCLG, so that high street rental auctions actively prioritise community-owned and cooperative models and ensure that the Office for the Impact Economy is promoting these economies appropriately?
I'd like to thank my honourable friend for raising this. This government is committed to delivering pride in places where we live. High street rental auctions are a really effective new tool for local authorities to do this by bringing vacant high street units back into use, while unlocking opportunities for community organisations to access tenancies at reduced rates. Early adopter councils are making great strides in implementing these new powers and sharing best practice. Myself and the Office of Impact Economy is working closely with MHCLG and other departments to maximise the impact of place-based social and economic delivery.
Blake Stevens.
Question 8, please, Mr Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. They've kept me busy. This government is committed to preserving the civil service proud and long-standing commitment to merit-based appointments, ensuring we have the skills and talent in place to deliver on our priorities. Those seeking to work within our civil service must abide by existing nationality rules, and each department must ensure compliance with UK visa sponsorship rules, which are issued through the Home Office.
Thank you. Can I thank the Minister for that response? Hundreds of public sector bodies, including a number of government departments and arm's length bodies, are registered to sponsored visas, as the Minister will know. Does the Minister agree with me that public sector should lead from the front and only sponsor visas by exception in the cases of hiring truly world-class talent? And can she confirm whether all government departments or arm's length bodies are complying with the guidance that's issued by the Cabinet Office?
I'd like to thank the member for raising this. Of course, we want to champion world-class talent. We want the best talent and to retain it as well. It's actually why we've announced the national score for government to ensure we can do this. I would politely remind the member that actually numbers increased after the points-based system was introduced, which actually made the biggest difference.
Question 9, please, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Cabinet Office did provide support to the Department for Work and Pensions in this matter, including sharing the lessons learned from the recent transition of the Civil Service Pension Scheme, which honourable members were discussing a moment or two ago.
Mr. Speaker, last week I heard that the government had made Capita the preferred bidder for a £700 million contract for shared services across the government departments. Are they having a laugh? Given Capita's appalling performance in administrating the Civil Service Pension Scheme, which has affected hundreds of my constituents, will the Minister urgently review the procurement process for this contract and commit to bringing this work back in-house to ensure Capita don't mess this contract up as well?
My right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, I know has sought and received specific assurances from Capita regarding the Synergy contract, but members across the House should be in no doubt of this government's desire to hold Capita to account robustly for its responsibilities under its contracts.
Jeff Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question 10.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Public services should be there for you when you need them, but right now it's too hard to get what you need. The new free-to-access digital ID intends to change that, supporting personalising public services, making everyday life easier for everyone. The consultation will be launched next week to ensure the public can have their say on how we make digital ID work for them.
Jeff Smith.
Thank you, and can I congratulate my honourable friend on his well-deserved elevation to Ministerial office. Even though digital ID will make it easier for people to access public services and to engage with public bodies, there's still an awful lot of disinformation and, frankly, conspiracy theory out there trying to undermine the case for it. Does the government have any specific plans to try and counter those narratives as part of the consultation?
I thank my honourable friend for his question and for his well-wishing. I'm grateful too for the opportunity to help dispel any misinformation on this exciting programme of digital transformation of our public services. Let me be clear, this will not be compulsory and there is no central pot of data. In my early conversations already, I have been assured of the security of data by design and the intentions of this plan to make digital ID not compulsory but something people deem for themselves as a must-have. It is for us to rise to this challenge in our design and delivery of it. More broadly, we want to have a national conversation and the upcoming consultation will clearly set out the government's position on this programme.
Susan Murray.
Question 11, Mr. Speaker.
Very good. So, Mr. Speaker, on the recovery plan, the government has ensured there are hardship loans in place. The government is monitoring and holding Capita to account on that recovery plan. The priority is to stabilise the service, and then, of course, there will be a commercial discussion on cost.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. On the 23rd of February, the Cabinet Office confirmed that hardship loans would not be available to dependents or surviving spouses of the Civil Service Pension Scheme members. This left one of my constituents in Mid-Dumbartonshire alone with 2 children and just 1 income after sadly losing their partner. Can the Minister explain to me how much it would have cost to provide support to dependents? And can they tell me how many people are left without support as a result of this decision?
Mr Speaker, on the very concerning case she raises, I'd be grateful if she would write to me specifically. I'm more than happy to look into it. The objective here is firstly to try and ensure people are not left without support, but I should also say to the House on Capita, the Cabinet Office has already withheld monies from them for not meeting milestones, and our contractual rights are reserved both in respect of Capita but also in respect of the previous provider, MyCSP.
Christine Sullivan.
Mr Speaker, question 12.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Government strongly supports inclusive PPE for all workers and welcomes the new BSI standard. Central Government commercial teams have seen increased provision of inclusive PPE across major programmes and projects. I know how seriously the Honourable Member takes this issue, so does this Government, and I hope to meet with her very soon to discuss it further.
Christine Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Minister for his response. With the Government on a mission to build 1.5 million new homes and invest billions in upgrading critical infrastructure, fit-to-form PPE is more important than ever for the expanding workforce. The Government has the opportunity to embrace BS 30417 and use the state's substantial purchasing power to increase employee safety through inclusive PPE for all. Will the Government commit to becoming an early adopter of the standard and lead industry by example?
Can I thank her for that question? And my honourable friend is absolutely right. Fit-to-form PPE is vital to protect all workers, and I agree that there's an opportunity for government to do more here. The new standard, we think, will contribute to good practice. We welcome it, and we're going to monitor how that proceeds. I understand the BSI are also presenting on this specifically in the construction sector soon. As I say, we are due to meet very shortly, and I need to discuss how we can take it forward.
Number 13, Mr Speaker.
Minister, well.
Mr Speaker, we are working with our allies to counter cyber threats, most recently using sanctions against Chinese tech companies and Russian cyber criminals. The National Crime Agency has arrested and charged those responsible for the reckless cyber attack on Transport for London. Our new Lock the Door campaign provides practical ways for organisations to protect themselves from online threats. And in the spring, the great city of Glasgow will host Cyber UK, where the government will launch the National Cyber Action Plan.
Martin Rhodes.
I thank the Minister for his response. I recently chaired a round table which produced a report from Fortinet, a cyber security firm based in my constituency. The report highlights both the opportunities and risk of cyber resilience as we transition to Great British Railways. Does the Minister agree what public procurement has a crucial role to play in ensuring our railways are secure by design, and that government must keep pace with the evolving cyber threat to our critical national infrastructure?
Well, Mr Speaker, I completely agree with my honourable friend. Public procurement is an important tool that ensures the UK's cyber security. On Great British Rail, the Department for Transport works with partners across government and the rail sector to improve the understanding of cyber risk. And I would, of course, be pleased to pass a copy of the report he mentions to the relevant minister to ensure it can be considered as part of this work.
Mr Speaker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Government is determined to ensure our £400 billion a year procurement budget supports British businesses. The Cabinet Office has published the Digital Data and Technology Playbook, which provides guidance on how to source and contract digital data and technology projects. This includes guidance for all departments, including the Department for Health and Social Care.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. We've seen the devastating impacts of cyber attacks on British companies and in the NHS in the past, and there are serious concerns about the NHS data being entrusted on external firms such as Palantir. What steps is my right honourable friend taking to ensure new NHS IT systems are both secure, ethically governed, protecting patient data and public trust, and British where possible?
Can I thank her for raising that? She raises a very serious point and it builds on the last question I think that my honourable friend, the Security Minister, was answering on, and also on digital ID. If it's okay with her, I will write back to her about the steps the Department's taking and how we're working across government on this important matter.
Tom Hayes.
Number 16, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
Sorry, hang on. 1 second, sorry. As part of our new partnership with the EU, we are currently negotiating an agreement to link emissions trading schemes. This will lower costs for businesses and consumers, and alongside the food and drink deal mentioned previously, this will add £9 billion a year to our economy. My right honourable friend, the Minister for the Cabinet Office, speaks regularly with Commissioner Sefcovic on this, and we will keep the House updated on progress.
Tom Hayes.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The EU's carbon budget amendment mechanism came into being on the 1st of January. It affects IFA 2 connector, which connects Britain and France, and I visited recently. It's a trade block for UK electricity exports to the EU, imposing costs on exporters of £2.2 billion, and it robs the Treasury of up to £8 billion at a time when we need that money to invest in our public services and have a stronger buffer against external shocks. Does the Minister agree with me that we shouldn't be shooting ourselves in the foot and throwing away money like the Conservatives would, but instead we should be boosting trade, boosting energy security, boosting our national security, and seeking an exemption from CBAM?
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And look, what's at the heart of this negotiation that my honourable right honourable friend is leading on is how we reduce bills, how we ease the route to decarbonisation, and how we also reduce our reliance on volatile fossil fuel markets, which, as we've seen in the last week, is not just a national security issue, but it's a cost of living issue as well. It's why we're working so hard on it, and why it's broadly welcomed by so many businesses as well.
Luke Murphy.
Question 17, Mr Speaker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Government is committed to delivering strong, stable and growing economy to every region in our country. This includes bringing high-quality civil service roles to towns and cities across the country, which not only will bring over 880 million in local economic benefits, but also ensure the civil service better reflects the communities we serve.
Luke Murphy.
For her answer, it's fantastic to see her on the front bench for what I think is her first parliamentary questions. Two of the things my constituents care most about are increasing their living standards and improving their public services. Both things depend on economic growth. Could the Minister set out how the reforms set out by the Chief Secretary earlier this year to the civil service, including on the National School of Government, is going to help drive that economic growth and meet the priorities of my constituents?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As a fellow Hampshire MP, I'm pleased my honourable friend continues to champion the cause for our wonderful region. The Government is already working to improve living standards for individuals and families in his constituency and across the UK. The civil service play a crucial role in ensuring we continue to deliver on this. The National School of Government will ensure we nurture talent, give opportunities to more communities outside of London, and we have the people with the best skills to deliver on our priorities.
Sir Russell.
Question 18, Mr Speaker.
Mr Speaker, in November the Government introduced the Cyber Security and Resilience Bill to protect essential digital services from cyber attacks and enable the Government to better respond to new cyber threats. In the spring, we will publish the National Cyber Action Plan, which will strengthen our resilience, tackle the threat and maximise the opportunities for growth in the cyber sector.
Sir Russell.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Thank you to the Minister. We have seen in recent days that Iran is bombing data centres across the Middle East, and that we are well aware that there have been problems with cyber attacks by non-state and state-backed actors from Iran. Can the Minister please outline what is being done by the Government and the National Cyber Security Centre to deal with this increased threat?
That's a good question. Mr Speaker, let me assure my honourable friend that the Government is absolutely committed to strengthening the UK's resilience. We've invested in the Government Cyber Coordination Centre, a leading cross-government service that is actively monitoring vulnerabilities and enabling a more effective response to the threats. The National Cyber Security Centre is monitoring closely the situation in the Middle East and directly engaging with the sectors, providing immediate sector-specific information and advice.
Question 19, sir. Secretary Jones.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As I've outlined previously, work is ongoing across government departments to identify the material relevant to the humble address. Throughout this process, the government has recognised the urgency and seriousness of fully complying with that address, and that's why we'll be publishing relevant materials in tranches, the first of which we've committed to publishing in early March.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So can the Minister confirm whether the head of the government's propriety and ethics team was appointed without an external recruitment process or written ministerial sign-off in an apparent breach of its own rules? And if so, is this not further proof of a lack of transparency and accountability and a failure to uphold the propriety and ethics at the heart of this government?
No and no.
Peter Swallow.
Question 21, please.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, disinformation by hostile state actors, particularly from Russia, is an immediate and evolving threat, characterised by divisive information operations and the manipulation of public discourse. In response, the government has sanctioned 38 organisations for information warfare since 2024, enforced the Online Safety Act, and built media literacy skills for young people to critically engage with information. Most recently, the UK sanctioned 3 foreign information and manipulation targets responsible for destabilising Ukraine and seeking to undermine European democracy.
Please swallow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last week, Meta appeared in front of the Human Rights Committee, and when I pressed them on their role in safeguarding democracy, they were unable to say that they were doing enough to prevent foreign actors using social media to undermine our democratic rights and freedoms. This week, we've had the second reading of the Representation of the People Bill, which seeks to strengthen our democracy. Does my honourable friend agree we need to use this opportunity to get together with to get tougher with social media companies? I only wish we could get together with them, get tougher on them, who are not doing enough about foreign interference on their platforms.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I do agree with my honourable friend that social media platforms have a very important role to play in safeguarding our democracy. The foreign interference offence is a priority offence under the Online Safety Act, which places duties on social media platforms to tackle illegal content. It requires platforms to take proactive action to identify and minimise their users' exposure to state-linked interference. But I can say to my honourable friend that we will not hesitate to go further to protect our citizens and our democracy from this threat.
To topicals, Mayo Alba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Question number 1.
Secretary Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I take this opportunity to welcome my honourable friends, the member for Southampton Test back from maternity leave, and the member from Bury North for his dispatch box debut, as well as Baroness Anderson in the other place who's joined the Cabinet Office team today. As my honourable friend has said, next week we'll be launching a national conversation to ensure the public has their say on how digital ID can be used to make modern public services. Digital ID will be free to access, secure, and make it easier to prove who you are when logging into the gov.uk app. Over time, government by app, much like with banking and shopping, will become a reality with quicker, easier, and more secure access to public services at the touch of a button, ensuring that our public services are there for people when they need them.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Minister for their response. Small businesses are the backbone of our local economies, but in my constituency of sunny Southend, East and Rochford, they are being held back by traffic congestion on the A127. What steps is the Minister taking to ensure that local infrastructure projects like a new link road for South East Essex are receiving cross-party prioritisation to drive SME productivity and growth?
Can I thank him for that? He mentions the A127. I could mention the A259 in sunny Brighton as well, but for the same hold-ups. But we won't dwell too much. But look, he's right that we need to do more to support SME growth and productivity, and to free up opportunity across the country. We've recently changed procurement rules to make sure more money is kept in local communities and more power as well. We will publish further plans soon, and I hope the Department for Transport also heard his point about a new link road.
Right, Alex Burkott, Shadow Secretary of State.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Yesterday, in light of the new China spy case, I asked the Security Minister to place China on the enhanced tier of the Foreign Influence Registration Scheme. He told us that FIRS was a, quote, relatively new tool, and that the government is seeking to ensure that we can derive the maximum operational capability from it, which is a wonderful Whitehall language, Mr. Speaker. Will the Security Minister please tell us what that means?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the arguments with regard to FERS are well rehearsed, but I am old enough to remember when members opposite said we wouldn't introduce FERS. Then they said that we would introduce it later than we'd previously said. We introduced FERS on time, but it is still a relatively new capability. I think it offers considerable potential in terms of what it will deliver for our country, but we're looking very closely at how we can ensure the maximum operational capability. I think that's pretty clear in any language.
Yeah. So, well, it's not very clear, Mr. Speaker, because FERS is 3 years old, and this morning I spoke to my right honourable friend for Tunbridge and Malling, who established FERS. When he was establishing it, MI5 told him that it was essential for understanding the operation of the Chinese state in the UK. The enhanced tier would impose mandatory registration and transparency requirements on individuals and organisations in the UK working with Chinese entities. I think most people in this House would now agree that that was entirely necessary. It is there to help our security services protect our country. Please, will the Security Minister give us a date by which he will come back to this House to tell us definitively whether he will put China on the enhanced tier and set out his explanation?
Well, Mr. Speaker, on a simple point of fact, FERS is not 3 years old. We came into government and FERS was not a properly developed system. It was this, well, honourable members opposite may groan, it is a statement of truth to say that FERS was not ready to go, and it was this government that got a grip and introduced that tool. It came into force, in effect, on the 1st of October last year. We've already placed 2 countries on the enhanced tier. We take these decisions very carefully, but I do give him a commitment that I will come back when there is a requirement to do so and update the House on any further decisions that we seek to make with regard to FERS.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The government deals with a huge number of arm's-length public bodies of variable value and levels of success. Can I ask what progress the ministers are making on tackling the number and effectiveness of those arm's-length public bodies?
I'd like to thank my honourable friend for that really important question. We have undertaken an arm's length body review and is making serious progress. We've already seen NHS England removed to make sure that we bring our important services under democratic control. And I think there's also a huge amount of savings that we're looking to undertake on this. And I look forward to updating the House and my honourable friend on its progress shortly.
John Lamont.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thousands of former public sector workers are facing delays to their pension payments. Both my CSP and Capita have catastrophically failed as the administrators of these pension funds. But the real failure is the Cabinet Office's inability to negotiate contracts that include financial sanctions to drive up performance. So what's the Minister going to do to sort it out?
Mr. Speaker, both contracts that the Honourable Gentleman is referring to were negotiated by the previous government. So you might want to reflect upon that. But can I just say to him in relation to where we are, in relation to both contracts, we are reserving our contractual rights under both. But let me just say in respect of Capita, the Cabinet Office has already withheld payments from Capita for not meeting particular milestones. So you can rest assured we will use every lever under these contracts to enforce them.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would the Minister join me in congratulating Ryan Cornish and Elliot Prentice, who are BCP's members of Youth Parliament, and their deputies Ruth Simpkins and Lily Bedwell on a fantastic year. They haven't just participated in our democracy, they've actually strengthened our democracy locally, and I know this is something the government would support.
Can I thank my honourable friend and join him in passing on his congratulations to his constituents. Youth Parliament plays an important role in our democracy and engaging young people in it, and with Mr. Speaker's consent has the benefit of coming into this chamber to experience what it's like. And the good news is that I think that we've already got members of the Youth Parliament who have become members of Parliament as a consequence of that experience. It didn't warn them off, Mr. Speaker, and we look forward to welcoming more of them in future generations.
Tony Cross.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. While we rightly will want to refrain from discussing too many of the details of a live espionage case, it does seem from media reporting that this goes beyond a case of just foreign state interference into local corruption. Will the government today agree to publish a list of all meetings held between Bute Energy and the government, both here in Westminster and in Wales?
The Honourable Lady is right that there's a counter-terror police operation underway, so it would be wrong for me to comment from the dispatch box, but I can reassure her and the House that the Government will cooperate fully with that investigation, and when we are able to provide further updates, we will do so.
Tom Rutland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week we've seen volatility in the global energy markets following the escalation of conflict across the Middle East. Will the Minister set out how, in the face of global turbulence, it will deepen cooperation and trade with the EU, as well as our allies across the world, something my constituents are very keen to see?
My honourable friend makes a really important point. And with the EU specifically, we've of course agreed an ambitious security and defence partnership. We're negotiating a deal on carbon emissions trading. We're in exploratory talks over an electricity agreement. All these things assist our economic and energy security, and the party opposite are opposed to it.
Shocker Adam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There should be no issue in our civil service being paid their pensions, but like 56,000 people are not being received their pensions from Capita. My constituent, Aaron MacDonald, is one of them, and he's due to retire at the end of the month, and despite countless messages to this department, he has not even received his pension quote yet. And my team has no way of escalating this matter. So what reassurance can he provide that the backlog will be cleared and my constituent and all constituents will receive their pensions in full and on time in the coming weeks?
Mr. Speaker, there is a robust recovery plan in place, but the specific case that the honourable gentleman raised, please could he ask his staff to escalate it up to me and I will look at it.
Adam Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Over the past few months, I've been involved in the new Long Eaton Business Partnership, which is bringing together business owners, private investors, health investors and local politicians. And the goal is to shape the future of our town and revive Long Eaton's town centre. Can the Minister tell us more about her work then, through the new Office for the Impact Economy, to collaborate with social investors and philanthropists, bringing funding to local communities?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I pay tribute to his and the important work being done by the new Long Eaton Business Partnership. This is exactly the kind of projects in place where the Office of Impact Economy works to add value, and I am very happy to meet with him and discuss how this can be maximised in his constituency to improve their neighbourhood for their constituents. Thank you.
John Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given the progress made by the Infected Blood Compensation Authority, could the Paymaster General update the House, given that over £140 million has been spent by the inquiry, whether he's had any conversations with Sir Brian Langstaff about when it would be the right time to close down that inquiry, and whether he's got wider lessons for the way that public inquiries function?
I'm very grateful to the Right Honourable Gentleman, again pay tribute to his work over some time on this matter. He's right to highlight the significant progress that's been made in terms of the speed of payments. And I think he also highlights a really important point about how we are going to learn lessons. It's really important to learn lessons about public inquiries, their length and providing value for money going forward.
Mr. Speaker, we're looking forward to welcoming the Secretary of State at the Haemophilia and Contaminated Blood APBG in the near future. But in the meantime, he knows my constituent Mary Grimley. She's been a prominent campaigner. She lost her husband and has campaigned for over half her life since then for compensation. She's recently been in touch with me to say that those making claims for the loss of loved ones are concerned about the speed with which payments are being made at this moment in time. I wonder if not now, if he could update the House on how progress is being made in paying those who were affected rather than those infected.
Yes, so the milestones that were set out in terms of paying infected people were indeed met by the end of 2025. And indeed, the first payment to an affected person was also on time and made before the end of last year. My honourable friend is absolutely right that we are now moving into a new phase of paying affected people, which is going to clearly be a larger number, and I will, of course, happily write to him with the precise figures on that.
Charlotte Jewist.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In light of the arrest of 3 individuals yesterday in relation to Chinese espionage, can the Minister confirm that security vetting for all special advisers is up to date?
I thank the honourable member for his question. He'll remember from the statement I previously gave to the House that we're reviewing this policy area, as well as other areas in terms of transparency and lobbying returns, as well as the work of the Ethics and Integrity Commission, and we'll come forward with further updates in due course.
Rachel Mascom.
Mr Speaker, the York Central 45-hectare development site will be the most powerful outside of London. The government have twice announced that it will have a government hub. However, the GPA has not signed that off. The development is going to planning in May. Can the Minister give me an update as to when we will hear the good news for York?
Can I thank the Honourable Member for her question? The Cabinet Office and government departments are in the process of concluding their business planning processes before the start of the new fiscal year, and so an update will be available very soon.
Yeah. And a message, actually.
The National Security Advisor, Jonathan Powell, commenced his current role on the 2nd of December 2024, and that was announced on the 8th of November 2024. I appreciate the Ministers won't have this information to hand, but I would appreciate if he could write to me and confirm when the National Security Advisor was granted his security clearance for that role.
I'll take the question away, Mr Speaker.
Mr Speaker, earlier this week, those of us on the Public Administration and Constitutional Affairs Select Committee took evidence from the Cabinet Office on the significant issues with the administration of the civil service pension scheme that are plaguing many of our constituents. It was quite clear that poor contract management played a role, particularly in building up a significant backlog of cases ahead of that problematic transfer to Capita. So can the Minister outline what steps are being taken to improve contract management of private suppliers in the Cabinet Office so this doesn't happen again?
I'm grateful to Honourable Friend indeed for the work that PACAC is doing on this. As I've indicated, our first priority is to deal with the immediate situation through hardship loans and indeed then through a robust recovery plan. But my Honourable Friend is absolutely right. Management of these contracts and indeed robust enforcement of contractual terms is going to be absolutely vital going forward.
Gregory Staff.
Mr Speaker, a few moments ago the Chief Secretary of the Prime Minister indicated to me that the appointment of the head of the Propriety and Ethics team was done by an external recruitment process. So will you tell me how many other people were interviewed?
The Honourable Member, if he makes reference to his previous question, asked me if it was in a breach of the rules, and I said no. The head of Propriety and Ethics, as I've already said to the House in previous questions, is on an interim basis, which is fully in line with the rules, and a proper recruitment process will take place shortly.
Thank you. There are still serious questions to answer in the administration of the Civil Service Pension Scheme. When my constituent Campbell tragically died in April last year, his wife Gaynor waited months to receive the death and service payment. In December, they found out that my CSP paid it to the wrong bank account. I've written to the Minister about this particular case. Will my honourable friend intervene to make sure Capita pay Gaynor without further delay?
I'm happy to look into the individual case, but I repeat, on both of these contracts, whether it's the existing Capita contract or indeed my CSP's previous responsibilities, the government reserves its right under both these contracts to take these matters up.
Please question. Well, you better stand up and just ask me. Point of order,
thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Sorry to return to this subject. It's very clear that the government does not wish to have an investigation into what happened at the meeting between Lord Mandelson and the Prime Minister and Palantir, and everything that occurred between that and the direct award that was given to Palantir later in the year. But this is very clearly a possible conflict of interests. Given that the government does not wish to investigate this, what is at the disposal of this House to force such an investigation?
I think you already know. The Honourable Member, can I thank for his point of order? As we all know, he's a very experienced member of the House, and I know he's already tabled a written parliamentary question on this matter. I expect the ministers to give a full and frank answers, and if he requires further advice on the options available to him, I'm happy to pursue this matter with the clerks and the table office, and I'm always happy to meet with the honourable member and see how we can move things forward. But I would believe it will be honest and open. Only thing I would expect is an early answer to the questions and not got lost in the system. Right. I've got something to tell the House, so please, it might be worth listening. What I'd like to do, I wish to read to the House a letter that I have received from the Clerk of the House, Tom Goldsmith. Dear Mr Speaker, I told you last year of my intention to leave the House service this autumn. Being able to support the House as a clerk is a huge privilege and a unique opportunity, which I am very grateful. By October, I will have served this House 30 years, and for the last 3 as Clerk. I've decided that it is time to take on the new and different challenges. Working here is never boring, not at least because of the passion and the dedication that members bring in their roles. I will leave with respect and fondness for members from all parts of the House. I also want to say how proud I am of everyone in the administration for the work that they do to support the House and members. It is an honour to be their colleague. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for all your support and friendship that you have shown me. I will, of course, continue to do my best for the House until my departure at the end of October. Yours ever, Tom. I just want to thank Tom for his contribution to the House. I know that honourable and right honourable members will want to join me in wishing him all the very best for the future. There will be an opportunity for members to put on record their thanks to Tom at a later date. A recruitment process will start soon, with the intention that the successor will be identified before the House rises for the summer recess. And just personally, Tom, I will miss you. You won't be that far away, because when that piano needs to be played, you're the best jazz pianist I know that's cost us nothing. So we look forward to the first recording of a jazz CD from. Right, we will now come to business questions, and I will call the Shadow Leader of the House, Jesse Norman. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the Leader of the House give us the forthcoming business?
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The business for the week commencing the 9th of March will include Monday the 9th of March, consideration of Lord's amendments to the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill, Tuesday the 10th of March, second reading of the Courts and Tribunals Bill, Wednesday the 11th of March, remaining stages of the Finance No. 2 Bill, Thursday the 12th of March, general debate to mark International Women's Day, Friday the 13th of March, the House will not be sitting, and the provisional business for the week commencing the 16th of March includes Monday the 16th of March, consideration of an allocation of time motion, followed by all stages of the Grenfell Tower Memorial Expenditure Bill. Tuesday the 17th of March, consideration of an allocation of time motion, followed by all stages of the Ministerial Salaries Amendment Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I may, I'd like to start by adding my very warm thanks and recognition to our magnificent clerk, Tom Goldsmith. The Speaker has already been indelicate enough to mention Tom's extraordinary skill at the jazz piano, but as someone who eats very much at the opposite end of the jazz food chain, can I just say that our loss of him as a clerk is going to be more than made up by his forthcoming history of British jazz. And I hope the House will join me in welcoming that, because it's not going to write itself. Let me start by recognising, on behalf of the whole House, all those men and women from our country and allies who are engaged in the conflict in and around Iran. We thank them for their bravery and their service. But let us not also forget that our great ally, Ukraine, is fighting for her life in the face of an attempted and unprovoked Russian war of conquest. NATO in this country must not allow themselves to be distracted now from giving Ukraine all the support we can. And as we approach International Women's Day this Saturday, may I also note that this week marks the anniversary of Nancy Astor taking her seat in 1919 as the first woman Member of Parliament, a milestone in the long journey towards wider political representation in this House. Mr. Speaker, this was a week in which 3 current or former members of the Labour Party were arrested on charges of spying for China. The Chancellor of the Exchequer gave a spring statement which explicitly reserved any policy substance for her forthcoming Mace lecture, not for Parliament, and badly misrepresented the economic position this country is in. You would never know from what she said that we have the highest unemployment in this country since the pandemic, and that youth unemployment is at a state of crisis. Meanwhile, she failed to mention, let alone publish, the Defence Investment Plan, which her department, the Treasury, has now held up for 9 months. The House will note the irony that a government that has never been willing to acknowledge the economic cost of the pandemic and the energy spike resulting from the war in Ukraine will now have to explain the economic effects of rapidly rising oil and gas prices due to the present conflict in the Gulf. We can only hope against hope, Mr. Speaker, that recent events will cause the Energy Secretary, a man with the worst judgment in politics, a man whom the Prime Minister wanted but was too weak to sack in the last reshuffle, to rethink his dangerously inadequate energy policy and refusal to develop North Sea oil and gas. Perhaps we will hear a U-turn in his statement later today. But unlike the Energy Secretary, the Leader of the House is a serious man, and I want to ask him a serious question. The government's official story, set out by the Prime Minister at the dispatch box yesterday, is that it has been preparing for a US attack for several weeks. These preparations include pre-locating missile and other weapon systems in the Middle East, though not sending a Type 45 frigate, which remains in dock at Portsmouth and will not depart for more than a week after the start of the conflict. Little wonder our allies have been so critical of the UK response. The Prime Minister has also offered us a pre-prepared line on the legal position. This is that the present government regards defensive operations as legal, but that it is against international law for the UK, and so presumably, in his judgment, for the United States and Israel, to take preemptive action to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons, when it is the avowed policy of that state to use those weapons to destroy another sovereign state, Israel. This is, of course, the second time in a year that the US and Israel have acted against Iran, so all these issues have already been widely discussed across government. Yet it is now reported with some authority across the newspapers that the Prime Minister was actually minded to support the US attack on Friday evening and was forced to back down by a group of ministers, including the Home Secretary, the Foreign Secretary and, yes, the Energy Secretary. It's hard to see how these things can all be true, and they raise a host of questions. If the government has been preparing for an attack by the US and Israel for weeks, how can it be true that its policy was still undecided on Friday night? If the Prime Minister's view was that he was minded to support the attack, where does this leave the legal position now? Legal experts, including the noble Lord Panic, have criticised the government's position as not legally rational. That's a quote. But my concern is more basic: whether the government is making the legal position up as it goes along, just as the Blair government did with the Iraq War in 2003. Finally, it now looks like the Cabinet has taken a decision with which the Prime Minister fundamentally does not agree. How can he exercise leadership under such circumstances? I do not expect the Leader of the House to comment on Cabinet discussions in any detail, of course, but I'm sure the whole House would be grateful for any explanation he can give.
Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And let me, first of all, start by joining you and the Shadow Leader of the House in thanking Tom Goldsmith for his service to this House. As you said, he served 30 years of dedicated work in Parliament and is an exemplary public servant. When Tom told me his news, I said to him that I was pleased for him personally but disappointed for the House. He's provided exceptional leadership during challenging times, and he's always been, for me, a steady and thoughtful, provided a steady and thoughtful approach to the procedural and constitutional issues of recent years. So I want to pass on to him, Mr. Speaker, my and the government's thanks for his dedication to parliamentary service and wish him well in the future. If I may turn now, Mr. Speaker, to the question, and I'll get on to the comments of the honourable gentleman in a moment, with reference to events in the Middle East and Iran. And I'm very grateful for the opening comments of the Shadow Leader of the House, and I agree with him absolutely that whatever is happening in that part of the world, we must not take our eyes off Ukraine either. And the government is absolutely determined that that is not going to happen. The events, however, are deeply concerning, and our thoughts are, as the honourable gentleman said, with British citizens and our brave servicemen and women in the region. There are, Mr. Speaker, an estimated 300,000 British citizens across the region, and their safety and security is the government's top priority. We are deploying rapid response teams to support British nationals. We're in close contact with our partners, including the UAE, And while the UK government's charter flight was not able to depart Oman yesterday as planned due to technical issues, the flight is now expected to depart later today. We will continue to explore all options for helping our citizens return homes as swiftly and safely as possible. We urge British nationals in Bahrain, Israel, Kuwait, Palestine, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates to use the Register Your Presence service to receive direct updates from the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. The FCDO phone lines are open 24/7 to provide consular support to affected British nationals. The FCDO MP hotline is also open, and ministers are available to meet with members to discuss individual cases. Yesterday, Minister Faulkner held a drop-in briefing for MPs to provide details of the support to British nationals currently in the region, and FCDO officials are currently providing a further drop-in session for all MPs in Members' Hub in Portcullis House, which is actually taking place as we speak, or as I speak. Should members face issues and are not able to get support, because I think one of the lessons from previous emergency situations, crisis situations like this, is that sometimes the support which is set up doesn't always work in the way that it was planned. And therefore I make the offer, Mr Speaker, that if members face issues, are not able to get the support that their constituents expect, I invite them to speak to my officials and see if we can help to sort it out. It is, of course, important that the House is kept informed of any developments, and the Prime Minister did so at the earliest opportunity this week. There will be a further statement today, and the Government will continue to keep the House updated as the situation evolves. I want to turn now, Mr Speaker, to security concerns which the Shadow Leader of the House touched on. Members will be aware that counter-terrorism policing released a statement yesterday, and the Security Minister set out the actions the Government is taking to safeguard our democracy in this place, and we will continue to take all necessary measures to protect our national interest, citizens and our democratic way of life. I would encourage, Mr Speaker, any MP who has experience of any suspicions or out of the ordinary interactions to report it to the House authorities. And the Government will continue to work in collaboration with the Parliamentary Security Department to set up a range of more tailored bespoke briefings for those at greatest risk. Let me now turn to the specific comments of the Honourable Gentleman, and as I said, he touched on the question of arrest. I'm not going to speculate about any of that, because there's a live police investigation going on, and it's not right that I, or indeed anyone else, should comment. In terms of the Defence Investment Plan, the Secretary of State is working flat out to deliver that, and will announce the findings of that shortly. In terms of his comments about energy, he'll get an opportunity, or MPs will get an opportunity to question the Energy Department in a statement later today. But you can also draw the opposite conclusions to the ones drawn by the Honourable Gentleman, because what is happening actually underlines the importance of our own energy independence and security of supplies. In terms of actions in the Gulf, Mr Speaker, and the reaction of our allies, we have a strong military presence across the region, which we have strengthened, as the Honourable Gentleman said, in recent weeks, including sending additional Typhoons, F-35s and radar systems, and indeed helicopters. We are taking action to reduce the threat. Planes in the sky have been in the sky across the region, intercepting incoming strikes, and we are deploying more capability to Cyprus. And on that matter, my right honourable friend, the Secretary of State for Defence, met his Cypriot counterpart this morning to support further support for our shared security in that region. But in terms of the legal judgment, it is, as the Government has set out, it is the basis for the position which the Prime Minister set out earlier this week. And as he made clear, our actions are fully in line with the national interest of our country. And I would discourage people from speculating about some of the things that might be read in newspapers, because it's far better to read or remember what the Prime Minister said in a very long statement on Monday, when he set out, in over 2.5 hours of questioning, he set out exactly what the government's position is, and that is how it remains, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Ashley Dalton, welcome to the backbenches and Solidarity.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm delighted to take up this place. People in West Lancashire are very concerned about the potential relocation of the Children's A&E at Ormskirk following the joint ICB committee's Shaping Care Together consultation. Folk and I want co-located children and adults A&E in Ormskirk. What can my constituents do to ensure that their voice is listened to in this process?
Mr. Leader. Speaker, and can I first of all thank my honourable friend for her commitment and contribution to government. I'm sorry that she's left government, Mr. Speaker, but I wish her well in every sense. Her work on the National Campaign Plan will save lives and transform care, and it's not every minister that is able to say that their work has had a lasting effect. And I know that she will continue to be a powerful voice on behalf of her constituents. And I just want to reassure her that the final business case on A&E services in West Lancashire will take into account the results of the local consultation.
Bobby Dean, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I join you in thanking Tom Goldsmith for his immense service? And can I also wish those who celebrate this weekend a happy Holi? There are 3 events going on in my local constituency this weekend, and I intend to get covered in colour. Moving on to the spring statement that we had this week. Of course, there were no policy announcements, and this has left many young people feeling cut adrift. Youth unemployment is now almost 1 million. That's the highest rate we've had in a decade, and it's now higher than the EU average. So this has become a specifically British problem that has accelerated under this government. And why? Well, I don't think it's down to any one thing. I think it's an accumulation, but many of those things are under the government's control. Businesses are stating living wage, national insurance and business rates, all as reasons why it's making it more difficult for them to hire young people. And the government may want to defend each of those in exclusivity, and I, for one, would defend the rise in the living wage. But if you pile on business costs all at once, there comes a point where business balks. And we are lectured on these benches sometimes for not supporting every Labour tax rise, as if it's the only way to get revenue for public services. But economics is not mere accounting. You can't simply shift numbers from one column to another. Every action has an effect. And if business is rated for multiple taxes all at once, and their response is to cut hours, cut jobs, and possibly close altogether, then that tax revenue does not come in. And that's why business confidence is at an all-time low, growth is flatlining, and we now have almost 1 million young people unemployed. So given that youth unemployment was not addressed in the spring statement this week, can the Leader of the House organise for a Treasury Minister to come to this House and make a statement on youth unemployment so we can hold this government to account on this matter?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And let me begin by a disagreement, I think, with the honourable gentleman before I go on and agree with much of what he's said. And the disagreement is this, which is about the position that his party takes when it comes to discussions around tax, and particularly business tax. Because it's quite simple, Mr. Speaker. You can't wish for the end without also supporting the means. That is simple and straightforward as far as I am concerned, Mr. Speaker. But as he says, youth unemployment is too high, but also youth employment is at a record high as well. And where I would join in support of what he says is that every young person deserves a chance to succeed. And we are introducing a range of reforms to help young people take that vital step into the workplace. The fact is, Mr. Speaker, that young people were forgotten by the previous government, and we are clearing up their mess. The guarantee will help young people get into work. 50,000 new training and workplace opportunities in sectors including construction, health and social care and hospitality will provide to young people on universal credit to help them develop their job skills, employer networks and a CV and interview coach. 55,000 young people will gain from a government-backed guaranteed job, which will roll out this spring. And we're also expanding youth hub centres where young people can receive vital help to get them back on track. And that will be in every area of the country, bringing the total to over 360.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Shrewsbury and Telford NHS Hospital Trust today came out with special measures for the first time since 2018. The community, the staff and the leadership of the Trust and myself know there's far more to do, but this is a vital step and the hard work required should not be underestimated. Will the Leader of the House join me in thanking the frontline NHS staff for their hard work? There's a lot done, but more to come.
Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I certainly join my honourable friend in thanking the staff at Shrewsbury and Telford Hospitals Trust who have come out of special measures, and that's testament to the dedication and hard work of the staff. Our plan for change is getting the NHS back on its feet, but we recognise, Mr. Speaker, that there is further to go, and NHS staff are a vital part of that.
Bob Blackman, Chair of the Backbench.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Leader for announcing the business going forward. And indeed, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and the Deputy Speakers for enabling the Estimates Day debates yesterday to go so smoothly, given the circumstances. In addition, Mr. Speaker, I note that the Leader hasn't announced the business for Thursday, the 19th of March. If we are given that date, there will be a debate on progress in tackling climate change, followed by a debate on online harms, both very, very well-subscribed debates. In Westminster Hall next week, on Tuesday, there will be a debate on the import and sale of fur and fur-related products. On Thursday, the 12th of March, there will be a debate on modernising marriage regulations, followed by a debate on government support for carnivals. On the 17th of March, in Westminster Hall, there will be a debate on productivity and economic growth in the East Midlands. On Thursday, the 19th, there will be a debate on accessibility of banking services, and we await confirmation from the Liaison Committee on whether they're going to take up their option. On Tuesday, the 24th of March, there will be a debate on sudden unexplained death in childhood. And on Thursday, the 26th, a debate on outcomes for patients with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and craniocervical instability. Now, Mr. Speaker, as the Honourable Member mentioned, this week is Holy, and my strong advice to anyone attending a holy event is wear old clothes, because you will get covered in various different types of paint, which you probably will throw away your clothes rather than trying to clean them afterwards. Now, on Tuesday, we had the annual celebration of Holy on the old Harrow Civic Centre car park site. This has been run for many, many years. It's a joyful occasion. More than 1,000 people attended. However, thugs from the Central Mosque left the mosque and then decided to disrupt the proceedings by pulling over the speakers, disconnecting the audio system, and they were chased away by stewards. That was bad enough. They came back with 20 more thugs and attempted to attack the people celebrating. Now, this is in Harrow, where we have excellent community relations, and I hope that this is something that will obviously not happen anywhere else or again. But the sad reality is that the community tensions that are rising because of various different things across the world, it is the responsibility of us as politicians to actually cool those things down. Can I ask, therefore, the Leader, if we can have a statement next week on what is going to be done to cool those community tensions and make sure that people can celebrate in peace and harmony as it should be.
Leader. Mr. Speaker, first of all, can I thank the honourable gentleman for the work of his committee and indeed the work that they did in the run-up to Estimates Days. They were very good debates. I should say, Mr. Speaker, perhaps slightly shorter time than had been anticipated, but it was right that the Security Minister came to this House to update the House members on what was a very important security matter. I want to join him and indeed the lead spokesperson for the Liberal Democrats on wishing everyone involved in a happy Holy. I'm very sad to hear of the disruption of what happened at celebrations in Harrow. I'm not going to comment on the incident because it wouldn't be right for me to do so. There is a police investigation taking place. However, I would say, Mr. Speaker, any form of religious hatred is abhorrent and has no place in our society, wherever it happens. And I absolutely agree with the honourable gentleman's words about the importance of the language that we use as politicians inside this House and indeed outside that House. I will consider his request about social cohesion and see what we can do in the next few weeks to address the very real concern which he has.
John Trickett.
Thank you very much, sir. And can I, first of all, welcome the sentences which the leader gave about youth unemployment. It is essential we tackle this problem. Unlike the party opposite, which was happy under Mrs Thatcher to have 3 million people out of work, Labour must tackle unemployment. But in terms of graduate unemployment, there is a problem. We had a constituent yesterday, 27 years old, struggled from a working class family in an isolated pit village and managed to get a degree, landed with a large amount of debt, has now spent more than a year trying to find a job. Researching into that problem, it looks as though the number of graduate jobs available in our country has fallen by 45% in the last few months. Can we have a debate? I'm sure the whole House feels uncomfortable about this, about graduate employment, particularly in rural areas.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And I agree with my honourable friend that these matters are of concern, particularly for graduates and the lack of graduate jobs, but also, of course, other matters around jobs in the community. I would, in the economy, I would suggest that my honourable friend perhaps seeks an adjournment debate on these matters, because they're not going to be resolved in the short term, and parties across this House are going to have to put their thinking caps on about what the job situation looks like for graduates going forward, not least because of the impact of AI and technology on the economy, which is essential that we engage with that and that we adopt that. But it does have implications for the kind of jobs that there are out there going forward.
Any more?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Last Saturday, hundreds of people from across my constituency came together on a march led by Mr and Mrs Edwards and Mr David Smith from Aldridge on the importance of the Greenbelt for our communities. Can we have a debate, please, in government time on the benefits of the Greenbelt to our communities and to the environment?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And the Honourable Lady does raise concerns again about these matters, and whilst it is true that the government has very clear targets for houses that need to be built because we need more houses, I do understand concern in communities, including my own, about the kind of land which is being used for that. So I would suggest to the Honourable Lady, I will go away and think about what she said, but I would also suggest that she looks perhaps at an adjournment debate, because what she will find is that her concerns will be echoed by many members across this House.
Catherine West.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. And could I say how much I agree with the sentiment around our lovely Clerk, and I look forward to hearing him play the jazz. There's a lot going on at the moment, very serious matters, but it is also just past St David's Day, and so could I encourage everybody to get their bicycles out. There's hundreds of kilometres more of cycling which the Mayor of London has put in London streets, and also even our local authorities such as Haringey putting on loads and loads more bicycle parking, making it safer and safer for people to cycle. And I hope that that can be something which the government looks into to create a healthier environment for us all.
Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for her question. The government is supporting local authorities to build and maintain walking and cycling infrastructure with £616 million for Active Travel England from 2026 to 2030, and our investment will enable an additional 30 million journeys on foot and bike every year, helping to revitalise high streets, improve our air quality and supporting healthier lifestyles. And should my honourable friend seek a debate on these matters, I'm sure she will find common cause with many across this House.
Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. There are beautiful churches across my constituency in North East Fife, and many of them are listed. But the announcement of the listed places of worship scheme being closed means that I've been contacted by many of those church communities who are deeply concerned about what that means for them, because that scheme is no longer going to provide funding for Scotland, and there appears to be little engagement has happened with the Church of Scotland. So can we know if there's Barnett consequentials from the new scheme, and what conversations there's been with the Scottish Government? And will the new scheme continue to offer a VAT rebate to churches and their repairs, and if so, whether churches in Scotland will be eligible for this? In order to do that, can the Leader of House ensure that the Department of Culture, Media and Sport come to the House to give an update? It is causing huge concern.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and the Honourable Lady will know that we share a very keen interest in historic churches. They are an important part of our communities. and I do understand the concern about the changes that she is referring to. I think better than offering an opportunity for a statement or debate, if she wishes, I will arrange for a meeting with DCMS Minister so she can raise these very understandable questions directly with the Minister.
Southwell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I welcome the government's announcements on ground rents, but many leaseholders still remain at the mercy of managing agents who raise service charges whilst delivering poor repairs. One of my constituents has had no hot water for 3 months. Others still lack the EWS1 certificates, leaving them unable to sell their homes or know if they're safe. Reducing ground rents tackles one issue, but not the wider problem. Will the leader urge the Minister to give local authorities stronger powers to act against unscrupulous building managers and freeholders?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I want to express my deepest sympathy to my honourable friend Scott's constituent. The situation he describes is simply unacceptable. Our draft Common Hold and Leasehold Reform Bill will end the feudal leasehold system, and the measures that he refers to are not the final steps. I want to reassure him on that, and we do intend to take further steps regarding the regulation of managing agents, and we will set out further details in due course.
Mayor Albert.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I understand that in the United Kingdom, our universities operate as businesses independent from the government. However, given the unacceptable lack of transparency from the University of Essex, its senior leadership team, on its decision to close its Southend University campus, can the Leader of the House help facilitate a meeting with the Prime Minister, the Department of Education and the University of Essex leadership team to discuss the continuation of university presence in Southend?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I understand the concerns that my honourable friend raises, and should he wish a meeting with the Further Education Minister, I'll help him to arrange one.
John Glenn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Recently I've been meeting with firefighters in Wilton, and last night I met with Andy Cole, the Chief Fire Officer for Wiltshire and Dorset. 8 of our fire stations in those 2 counties are facing closure out of 50, despite them making 15 million of annual savings since 2016. At the core of the issue, it seems, is the assumptions around growth in the council tax base, which is much higher in the Treasury's mind than it is in reality on the ground. Would the Leader of the House fix up a meeting for me with the Fire and Democracy Minister, the member for Chester North and Neston, so I can actually support her to actually push back to the Treasury so we can get the right assumptions and avoid closure of these fire stations, particularly in Wilton?
Yes, I will, Mr. Speaker.
Andrew Rosner.
Mr. Speaker, sir, in 1986, when President Ronald Reagan contacted Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher to ask that the Royal Air Force bases in the UK could be used to attack the Gaddafi regime in Libya, she said yes. This Prime Minister has said no to the same request from the current Prime Minister, refusing the use of the Chagos Islands, and now we know that Gibraltar is under threat as well, with the apparent deal that's being agreed, which potentially could prevent the use of Gibraltar for future defence and security. Mr. Speaker, what has this government got against the British Overseas Territories, and isn't it time we had a debate about the importance to defence and security of the British Overseas Territories contribution, and now we hear about the British bases on Cyprus? We need a debate on this because they are vital to our defence and security of the United Kingdom and the entire free world.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm sorry to say that the honourable gentleman appears to be confused, because we have agreed that British bases could be used by the United States for limited and specific purposes of knocking out Iranian missile launches. This is a defensive action. The purpose is to protect British lives in the region. And as far as our allies in the region, and I would include other British overseas territories, this Prime Minister is absolutely committed to their defence. When we talk about our national interests, we're talking about their interests too.
Libston.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my constituent, Sunju Paul, who is watching from the gallery today, fought and won a landmark case against her employer after she was unfairly dismissed when she was diagnosed with endometriosis. I wanted to mention Sunju's case today as we approach International Women's Day because I don't see her fight for justice as a victory just for herself. It's for the countless women across the country who talk about their medical health conditions in the workplace but are ignored. Not a single gynecological condition is mentioned in the guidance of the Equality Act, which I think is shameful. So could I ask the Leader of the House, who I know is a champion of women, could we have a debate in government time to talk about the impact of endometriosis in the workplace and try and end this discrimination once and for all?
Leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the honourable friend for raising this important and timely matter ahead of International Women's Day on Sunday. Too many women, Mr. Speaker, are still subject to a system that doesn't listen to their experience and doesn't understand their needs. And our renewed women's health strategy will set out our longer-term vision so that every woman gets the health care that she deserves. And my honourable friend may wish to raise these matters herself with ministers during the debate on International Women's Day next week.
Michael. Mr. Speaker, for many of my constituents in Kingswinford and South Staffordshire, a daily postal delivery is a fiction, with post sometimes taking weeks to arrive. And this includes hospital appointment letters and other important appointments that often arrive. The letters arrive after the appointments have happened. So can we have a debate in government time on the performance of Royal Mail and their responsibilities under the Universal Service Obligation?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This, unfortunately, is an issue which has been raised on many occasions, and the House will understand and sympathise with the experience of the honourable gentleman's constituents, because I'm sorry to say it's all too frequent in many areas. Ofcom has fined Royal Mail 3 times on its service levels and is investigating Royal Mail's compliance with its quality of service obligations. And they've been told to urgently publish and deliver a credible plan that delivers improvement. The public does expect, as the honourable gentleman says, a well-run postal service with letters arriving on time across the country. And the Business and Trade Committee, as he may know, called in the Royal Mail into Parliament over their performance. I hope that ministers will be able to report on an improvement in the service in the coming weeks.
Jim McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we step into spring and as we look towards certainly the local elections, all of our attention will be drawn to the quality of our local neighbourhoods. But it's quite clear after a decade under the previous government that they are still frayed, whether it's the potholes on our roads, the quality of our neighbourhoods in terms of fly tipping, and also the standard of our parks as people go to enjoy them. Now, given this is a cross-government responsibility, and of course local government have a very important delivery role to play, does he share my view that there is maybe a role to play for a cross-government task force about rebuilding neighbourhood services in every community across the country?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The government is absolutely onto this matter, Mr. Speaker, in terms of potholes, ensuring that there are billions of pounds available for local authorities so that potholes can be fixed. It seems a particularly issue currently, not least because of the very wet winter, but it doesn't matter, they need to be fixed. And secondly, the government is also committed through the Pride in Place programme to ensuring that neighbourhoods not only get investment going forward, but that people living there are in charge of making decisions about their own future. But I will certainly put to my honourable friend, the Secretary of State, the suggestion that my other honourable friend has just made.
Alison Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also wanted to raise the question of potholes because in Haywards Heath, in my constituency, potholes are plaguing many, many roads, including Perrymat Road, which is a bit like driving over the surface of the moon. Conservative-run West Sussex County Council have failed for years and years with temporary patch and repairs that are both a disaster and a waste of money. How can West Sussex get better than this?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I've said, the government is committed to more investment, but of course it does require local authorities to perform. And that was the bit that I missed out, that local authorities have an obligation to do that. And I hope that her local authority area has heard her words today.
Paula Barr.
Thank you,
Mr Speaker. Transforming Choice, led by Frances Malloy and her amazing team, is an alcohol detox and rehabilitation service based in Sefton Park in my constituency. It does incredible work to support people struggling with alcohol dependence who have often experienced homelessness as well. The results are literally life-changing. It is supported in turn by Penny Lane builders who maintain its heating free of charge, ensuring people accessing this life-changing service have heating and hot water, a totally selfless act and a demonstration of social cohesion. Will the Leader of the House join me in praising both Transforming Choice and Penny Lane builders, and will he make time for a debate in government time on the social purpose of businesses and the vital role that they play, like Penny Lane builders, in their local communities, which often go unnoticed?
Mr Speaker, I certainly join my honourable friend in praising what is happening in her constituency and across her city. She's on a bit of a roll, Mr Speaker, because I note that next week she has a debate in Westminster Hall on rough sleeping amongst families with children. I'm sure when she is finished with that, she may well seek a further debate to raise the follow-on issues, actually, which she's raised with us this morning.
Martin Bickers.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Last Thursday, the Energy Minister visited my constituency, which was much appreciated, to discuss the fallout from Lindsay Oil Refinery going into administration and how we boost the local economy following the number of redundancies that will occur. What is vital, as business leaders keep pointing out to me, is that we improve transport connections to northern Lincolnshire. Could the Leader of the House either arrange for a debate about that, or perhaps a meeting with myself and other local MPs with the appropriate minister?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'll certainly arrange a meeting for the honourable gentleman and his colleagues in the region, because, as he is alluding to, it's not just a question of energy and not just a question of the businesses themselves, but it's about accessibility through good transport. So I'll certainly help him to arrange them.
Tracy Gilbert.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The events of the past week serve as a reminder of the contribution that our armed forces personnel play every day. Many of our veterans will suffer from trauma, anxiety and a range of mental health issues during their career and in retirement. The charity Combat Stress are running a March in March fundraiser to support the vital work they do for our veterans. Will the Leader of the House join me in wishing my nephew Stanley Watling and the others from Gilbert Combined Cadet Force Team who are taking part in this fundraising event good luck? And will he schedule an oral statement on the support being provided to veterans?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And I certainly thank my honourable friend for raising the important work of our armed forces, and I absolutely join her in wishing Stanley and all those involved in the March fundraiser all the very best indeed, and thank them. We are committed, Mr Speaker, to supporting our brave veterans, and I thank all service personnel, both past and present, for their service, but also everyone involved with the cadets, because again, we're putting greater emphasis on cadets. They do such an important job across our communities.
Lisa Smart.
Very much, Mr Speaker. Talkington Park in my Hazel Grove constituency is a beautiful place to spend some time, but too many of my constituents have been contacting me recently with concerns about raw sewage in the stream. They're really concerned about their children and their pets playing in there, and it appears that it's all down to dodgy connections from some housing that has been built going directly into the stream. Could I ask the Leader of the House if we could have a debate in government time so that we can flush out these issues across our constituencies, and that we can hold the Environment Agency, the water companies and housing developers properly to account?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd invite the honourable lady to seek perhaps an adjournment debate, Mr Speaker, because, as she's pointed out, these are often multifaceted problems, and should she be able to secure that, then she'll be able to set out her case in more detail.
Peter Prinsley.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I wonder if the Leader of the House has had the opportunity to see the shocking Channel 4 TV programme Dirty Business, which brings to mind Mr Binks of Stowmarket. Mr Binks brought me a collection of photographs of the River Gipping for 50 years. The photos showed a once navigable river full of fish and clear water, now blocked with fallen trees, brown water and neglected banks causing repeated flooding. Does the Leader of the House agree with me that this is a consequence of the disastrous deregulation of the water industry brought by the previous Conservative governments that has ruined our rivers?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would agree with his analysis of where the problem ultimately lies, Mr. Speaker, but also add that this government is committed to cleaning up our waterways and tackle waste crime. We boosted the Environment Agency's waste crime enforcement budget by over 50%, and we're giving councils powers to crush vehicles of suspected fly tippers. So I would encourage my honourable friend to apply for a debate on these matters, make sure that the relevant minister is there, but also I'm sure there will be others in the House that will echo my honourable friend's concerns.
Dr. Ben Spence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can we have a debate in government time on defensive military operations in the Middle East?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There will be a statement later, Mr. Speaker, and I am committed going forward that the House will be updated regularly on these matters.
Mayor Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On Wednesday, I joined midwifery students protesting in Parliament Square and spoke to Kelly McDermott, who is facing the reality that 31% of newly qualified midwives can't find jobs, which the Royal College of Midwives puts down to poor workforce planning. Would the leader join me in commending the incredible care that midwives give women, and would he also join me in calling on the Health Secretary to ensure that this is the government that finally provides the step change in investment our maternity services desperately need?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I certainly would join my honourable friend as she champions our exceptionally hard-working midwives. Our 10-year workforce plan will ensure that the NHS has the right people in the right place with the right skills to care for patients. We've already recruited more than 800 extra midwives and invested over £140 million to deal with critical safety risks on maternity wards. And I'll make sure that my honourable friend gets a response from the Health Secretary on the specific concerns that she raises.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Coastal erosion has caused immense damage in South Devon to homes, businesses and a vital A road. The impact of winter storms this year illustrate the need for joined-up thinking in government and support for local government to cope financially with the eye-watering costs of repair. So can we have a debate in government time about the need for a cross-departmental coastal erosion unit that brings together all the necessary parts of government to respond in a coordinated way to events such as this, which have left one of my communities completely battered?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are ways in which government already seeks to work in a comprehensive way in order to address these issues. But if the Honourable Lady wishes a meeting with the relevant Minister on the resilience of local communities to these issues, which are not going to go away, then I will arrange that meeting for her.
Danny Beales.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This Wednesday marked Holi, a festival celebrated by millions around the world and here in the UK. Last year I had the privilege of celebrating Holi with the Hindu West Drayton and Uxbridge culturals. We threw colourful paint, played traditional games, and children described what the first Holi festival they celebrated meant to them. They'll be celebrating this Sunday as well, so will the Leader of the House join me in wishing them and all of our constituents a happy Holi and thank them for the contribution they make to our communities and our country?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll certainly join my honourable friend and I'm sure the rest of the House in wishing all of our constituents a happy Holi. Festivals such as Holi bring our communities together, something, Mr. Speaker, which is more important than ever.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the MP for Gretna Green, Europe's wedding capital, I particularly welcome next week's debate on modernising marriage laws, and can I encourage all colleagues to take part. Mr. Speaker, the last few days marks the 25th anniversary of the 2001 foot and mouth outbreak, which had devastating effects in my constituency, with virtually every hoofed animal slaughtered as a result of that incident. I remember, as a member of the Scottish Parliament at the time, how the smoke lay over the Annan Valley as animal carcasses were burnt on open pyres, and of course the local autonomy took a long time to recover. Would the Leader of the House bring forward a debate to properly reflect on those events, to praise the resilience of the communities involved who have bounced back, and indeed to ensure that lessons have all been learned from that incident?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remember too, and I thank the honourable gentleman for reminding us of the devastating events which he describes and the impact that it had on lives and livelihoods at the time and for much longer. And I also join him in praising the resilience of the communities that were hit hardest in those days, including his own. We are providing, Mr Speaker, £1 billion for a new national biosecurity centre to protect farmers from the impact of disease going forward. But I would encourage him to apply, Mr Speaker, perhaps for an adjournment debate, just to remind the House and remind ministers of those events so that we can set out how we have learned and are learning those lessons.
Ravendra Bishop.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I also place on record my best wishes to you and colleagues across the House for Holi. I know on a personal note, if you are looking to get covered in Holi colours, I'd be more than happy to organise that, Mr Speaker. In Lancashire or Stockport. In Lancashire or Stockport. On a separate note, Mr Speaker, concerningly, many unlicensed and illegal driving instructors are operating across the UK, with some offering lessons without proper certification and others exploiting learners through unofficial test bookings. Illegal instructors undermine our road safety, put learners at risk and threaten the integrity of our driving test system. I've heard from local reputable driving instructors in Stockport, including Mr Jules Musgrove from JSM Driving, about the dangers of this. I've tabled a number of written parliamentary questions on this matter, Mr Speaker, and I was informed that DVSA received 927 reports of illegal instruction and 2,133 reports of fraud concerning theory and practical tests. Can I request the Leader of the House to allocate time for a debate in government time on measures to strengthen enforcement against illegal drivers?
Just before the Leader, can I just help everybody? I'm intending to finish this at 12. There's still a lot of members there. So please, if we can have punchy questions and certainly shorter answers, I'm sure the Leader is the best example.
Sure, Mr Speaker. First of all, can I thank the Honourable Gentleman for raising these matters, and should he seek a meeting with the Minister to explain his concerns, then I will help him to get that. But we've already doubled the number of trainees for examiners and provided over 120,000 additional tests between June 2025 and January 2026. And we will ensure that only learner drivers can book or reschedule tests and stop exploitation by online bots. But should he seek a meeting with the Minister, I will help him to arrange one.
Mr Speaker, Masjid al-Aqsa in Jerusalem is the third holiest site for over 2 billion Muslims worldwide. Thousands of Brits pay pilgrimage to Masjid al-Aqsa every year, but countless, unfortunately, are not allowed into the country, but those that do are not allowed into the compound. In fact, a recent survey that I conducted found that 330 out of 390 respondents encountered issues accessing the compound, and some were not allowed in at all and facing racial abuse at the same time. Despite writing to the FCDO Minister to discuss these findings several months ago now, I have had absolutely no response. So will the Leader of the House please address this matter with the relevant department, and what further assurance can he give that to all those that go to pray in the Holy Land to keep safe and pray safely?
Leader. Mr Speaker, I will do that, and I'll make sure that he gets a response.
Jim Dix.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Dartford's brilliant Wentworth Primary School, whose notable former pupils include the wonderful Sir Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, as well as UK gold medal-winning sprinter Adam Jamili, turns 75 next month. Would the Leader of the House join me in wishing the school, the head Mr Pollock, its wonderful staff, governors and pupils a very happy birthday?
I certainly will, Mr Speaker, and I join my honourable friend in congratulating Wentworth Primary School and wishing all the staff and students, both past and present, a happy birthday. As he says, there have been some notable alumni over the last 75 years, and I'm sure it will continue in the next 75 years.
Thank
you, Mr Speaker. My constituents regularly complain about private parking companies. Recent examples include a firm passing a case to debt collectors after the constituent had provided evidence they were ill, and another issuing a charge when the driver had paid but the machine failed. Following last September's consultation on raising standards in the private parking industry, will the Leader of the House confirm when the government will bring forward a new code of practice and compliance framework to protect drivers from exploitative parking operators?
Leader of the House. I
can't confirm when, Madam Deputy Speaker, but I do know it's uppermost in the mind of ministers, because this is a problem in many communities. But I will take it up with the relevant department and get the Honourable Lady an answer.
Kim Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Liverpool has the oldest established Chinese community across Europe, and this year it marks the 80th anniversary of Labour government's deportation of thousands of Chinese seamen after the Second World War, an act that abandoned women and children and left generations without answers. So will the government make time for a full debate on the impact of this heinous act to finally acknowledge this injustice, provide full transparency, an unreserved apology and support dissenters still seeking the truth about their loved ones, and ask a Minister to respond to my letters, please?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'd encourage my honourable friend to seek an adjournment debate so she can hear from the relevant Minister directly.
Vera Hophouse. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. One of my Bath constituents, who is a leaseholder in a housing association managed development, has received sudden and extremely high major works bills without warning. There is currently no statutory requirement for landlords or housing associations to operate sinking or reserve funds to spread the costs of major works over time. Many leaseholders are then exposed to large unexpected charges at short notice. So could I ask him to reach out to colleagues in MHCLG and draw attention to this growing problem, and considering introducing statutory guidance or regulations on sinking funds to better protect our constituents?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. As I said in a previous answer, that we have produced the draft leasehold and common hold reform bill, but it is not the full extent of the government's ambitions in these regards, and I will draw her remarks to the attention of the Minister to see whether they can be addressed in the other steps that we are looking for.
Jim Shannon.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Always a pleasure to ask a business question. I want to raise concerns regarding the detention of Pastor Ezra Jin Mingri, leader of the Zion Church, who was arrested during coordinated raids across several cities in China. Zion Church is an unregistered Protestant church that has previously closed after declining to install state-mandated surveillance equipment. His family state they've had no contact with him since his detention. These developments form part of wider reports of increased pressure on independent Christian communities. So will the Leader of the House please ask the Foreign Secretary to set out what representations the government has made to the Chinese authorities regarding these detentions, and what steps have been taken to raise concerns about freedom of religion belief in China?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I know that this case has been raised this week by my honourable friend, the Special Envoy for Freedom of Religion and Belief, the honourable member for Northumberland. There is clearly strength of feeling around the detention of the pastor. These reports are a worrying indication of the persecution of Christians in China, and we do continue to engage with China on freedom of religion, and we'll continue to do so. I'll make sure that the honourable gentleman gets a response from the Foreign Secretary on these important matters.
Liz Twist.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Earlier this morning, I joined Samaritans at Waterloo Station at the launch of their Small Talk Saves Lives campaign, which encourages people to start simple conversations with those who look as if they may be in distress. Can we have a debate in government time on the importance of mental health campaigning in helping save lives across the UK?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And my honourable friend is absolutely right. Mental health campaigning is vital to saving lives, and my honourable friend is a tireless and assiduous campaigner in that regard, and I both congratulate her in the work that she does, but most importantly, we need to thank her for the work that she does. Organisations such as the Samaritans do incredible work in supporting those who are most vulnerable and educating the public in how to help. I'd encourage my honourable friend to apply for an adjournment debate, Madam Deputy Speaker, so that she and others can raise the concerns and get a better idea of what is going to happen going forward.
Kat Smith.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Lancashire County Council's consultation on the closure of care homes and adult day centres is now closed, and the decision lies with the reform-led county council. Care homes, so adult daycare centres in my constituency like Valeview are at real risk of closure. Can I ask for a debate in government time about the value that daycare centres offer both to the users and their families who support them?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And can I thank my honourable friend for her campaigning on these matters. I'm absolutely at one with her on recognising the importance of day centres. They're a vital part of provisions to support disabled children and their families, and I join with her in urging the Reform-led Council to take their responsibilities seriously, listen to the issues that are raised here today, because once again, Madam Deputy Speaker, we're hearing of Reform-led councils who over-offer and under-deliver.
Gerald Jones.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Honourable members will have heard me speak on numerous occasions about the high cost of petrol in Merthyr Tydfil, where prices have for many months been around 10p per litre higher than many neighbouring areas and indeed higher than here in London. I've asked the CMA to intervene. Now some retailers in Merthyr Tydfil and surrounding areas have risen prices since the start of the military action in the Middle East, even as events were unfolding, leading to accusations of profiteering. Will the Leader of the House please make time for a debate on the actions being taken to protect consumers from arbitrary price rises? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. There will be a statement later today on energy matters, and I'd encourage my honourable friend to raise that. But the Government is also committed to ensuring that the consumers have the necessary information at their disposal to find where the best value lies for petrol prices.
Ian Byrne.
Madam Deputy Speaker. Next month on the 15th of April marks the 37th anniversary of the Hillsbury disaster, where 97 innocent children, women and men were unlawfully killed and countless lives were ruined, and also the beginning of the well-documented state cover-up that followed. With that in mind, can the Leader of the House provide clarity to this House and to the families and campaigners who fought so long for the Hillsborough law, a key commitment in our manifesto, and when the bill will return for its report stage?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for his dedication to this important matter and to the families and his community involved in this terrible event. We are working tirelessly, Madam Deputy Speaker, to reach an agreed position, but it is important, as he knows, that we get this absolutely right. Should he seek a meeting with ministers to get the latest update, I will help him to get that. But I will announce future business in the usual way. But let me reassure him we are determined that we will make progress on this matter.
Jeff Smith.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. We've had 16 bank closures in Manchester Withington in the last 5 years, and now the impending closure of the NatWest in Chorlton and the Halifax in Didsbury means that there will be one bank left in our constituency. Now, most of us bank online nowadays, but there is still a need for individuals and businesses to access local services. And I do think there's a question of whether the proposed number of banking hubs and the criteria for them are sufficient and correct. It's good that there's a Westminster Hall debate on banking services that's been scheduled, but can I ask for the Leader of the House to have a debate in government time on that specific issue of banking hubs?
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for this question. We recognise the importance of face-to-face services and that banks are expected to follow Financial Conduct Authority guidance on branch closures and support their customers. We are, as he says, supporting the industry with the rollout of 350 banking hubs, with 210 already opened. And everyday banking services can also be accessed through the post office. But he raises an important matter on behalf of his constituents. Should he seek a meeting with the relevant minister, then I will help him to get one.
Ewan Steinbank.
Deputy Speaker, a constituent has been on a waiting list for over 2 years with no end in sight. After waiting this long without progress, they wrote to me to seek their referral being moved to an equidistant clinic with faster times, yet NHS Forth Valley are unable to yet facilitate this. Would the Leader agree with me that everyone, including trans people such as my constituent, deserve timely access to the right healthcare?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend is a strong advocate for his constituents, and I pay tribute to him for that. As he will know, healthcare is a devolved matter, but we do acknowledge that trans people have historically not been able to access the support that they need. We are committed, Madam Deputy Speaker, to ensuring that the NHS is there for everyone, providing equal access to healthcare for everyone.
Janet Davey.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Fly tipping is a blight on our communities. It should not happen, and it is wrong. It spoils and damages communities, and I see far too much fly tipping up and down and across my constituency. Lewisham Council is doing a fantastic job even in doing all that they can to manage this. But would the Leader of the House agree with me that we really do need a wider government strategy on how to manage and deal with fly tipping across our country?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for raising this matter. The government is committed to tackling waste crime, including fly tippers, who are a blight, as she says, on our local communities. This is a topic which affects a lot of members in this House, so I would encourage my honourable friend to apply for what I'm sure would be a popular Westminster Hall debate and then put her interesting proposition to the Minister and hear directly from them.
Paul Davies.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Smashed Live, an educational programme delivered by Collingwood Learning, who are based in Home Firth, teaches young people to think critically about the dangers of underage drinking. They recently performed at Honley High School in my constituency. Given that by the age of 15, 62% of pupils in England will have had an alcoholic drink, will the Leader of the House please consider dedicating time to a debate on the importance of early education on alcohol?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend raises a concerning matter, and I thank him for raising the important work of Collingwood Learning. Early education on alcohol is already compulsory, and the updated RHSE guidance provides additional content on risks associated with alcohol consumption. I encourage my honourable friend to apply for an adjournment debate on these matters because it's an important issue, but also because there will be others across the House who will share his concerns.
Paulette Hamilton.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Councillors are the bedrock of their communities, working tirelessly on behalf of residents. I know this from my own time as a local councillor. Wasim Zafar was an outstanding and much-loved Birmingham councillor who served his constituents with passion and distinction. His recent passing at the age of 44 was a great loss. Given the invaluable contribution of local government representatives, will the Leader of the House join me to ask for a debate in government time to recognise the vital role that local councillors play in our communities? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And first of all, can I join with her in thanking and recognise the important contribution of councillors across the country, whichever party they represent. They're an important part of our local democracy. May I join with her in sending our condolences to the family and friends of her local councillors. She's right to raise these matters, and as we approach local elections, should she seek an adjournment debate, Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm sure she can give even greater voice to the importance of councillors in our local democracy.
Alex Mayer. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Coach drivers, young coach drivers, are severely limited in the amount of distance they are allowed to drive. So from your constituency, Madam Deputy Speaker, trying to get to London, they would actually only make it as far as Sheffield. The government has recently closed a consultation on this issue. Would the Leader of the House be able to let us know when we'll get a response to that consultation, as it seems very strange that people of the same age are able to drive a 44-tonne lorry but not a coach any considerable distance?
My honourable friend raises some important points in these matters, and the government does recognise that the bus and coach sector has had issues recruiting and retaining bus drivers in recent years, and we are, as she says, considering next steps. I'll make sure that she gets an update once this process has been completed.
Martin Rhodes.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can the Leader of the House make government time available for a debate on involving young people in decision-making? When I recently visited primary 6 classes at St Monica's Primary School in my constituency, they raised very thoughtful points about issues in their local Milton community and their aspirations for the area. Does he agree that we should be doing more to ensure young people's voices genuinely shape the decisions that impact them?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The short answer is yes, I do. We did run one of the biggest national conversations the government has had with young people to produce our National Youth Strategy, which we published in December last year, but we need to make sure that that process continues. Should my honourable friend seek an adjournment debate, I'm sure it would be, Madam Deputy Speaker, well attended.
Douglas McAllister.
Madam Deputy Speaker, yesterday marked the one-year anniversary of my constituent Jacktar Singh Johal's acquittal of all charges in the only court case against him in India which has actually proceeded to trial. Yet despite this, he remains arbitrarily detained for over 8 years now in an Indian prison. Can I ask the Leader of the House if he'll agree to meet with me, together with his ministerial colleagues from the Foreign Office, to discuss what our government's plan is and what progress has been made to secure his release and return home to Dumbarton beyond just raising it with Indian counterparts, because that's not achieving any progress?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank the honourable friend for his continued and sustained campaign. On behalf of Mr Johal, we do continue to push for faster progress. And as he says, the case has been raised directly with the Prime Minister and indeed by the Foreign Secretary with her counterpart. But I will ensure that he gets an update on these matters from ministers, and if he wishes to raise it with them directly, I'll make sure that he gets a meeting.
Dr Alison Gardner.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Synthetic cathinones, locally known as monkey dust, is a stimulant drug that is causing significant harm in Stoke-on-Trent. These substances can cause severe psychosis, trigger acute health risk and have a significant impact on the very vulnerable people who turn to monkey dust, on our local communities and our public services. I ask therefore whether the Leader of the House would make time for a debate on synthetic cathinones.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for raising what is an important issue. The use of synthetic drugs is concerning, and we are taking action to tackle this challenge. Law enforcement continues to seek new methods to identify these new concerning types of drugs, but as a former drugs minister, I can remember how difficult these matters actually are. I note that she's raised her concerns directly with the Home Secretary at oral questions. If she wishes a meeting with the drugs minister to further pursue this matter, then I will help her to arrange one.
Josh Dean.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Morrison's has resigned from managing the Thorley Park Post Office, and it's put the future of this important local centre at risk. I've joined with cross-party local councillors to write to the local Sainsbury's and encourage them to host the branch, but the post office can only keep this branch open if local retailers come forward to consider taking it on. So will the Leader of the House join me in encouraging those local retailers, entrepreneurs and Sainsbury's to consider taking on this important local service?
Deputy Speaker, and I do indeed join my honourable friend in recognising, first of all, the essential role that post offices play in communities across the country, but also the importance that retailers like Morrison's and others play in ensuring that services continue. We have set out in our Post Office Green Paper our views on what should happen over the next few years, but I hope that local retailers able to help in this situation have heard my honourable friend's voice here today, and I hope there can be a resolution in this case.
Warren de Just.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I recently had the pleasure of visiting Base 25, a dedicated charity supporting young people with SEND, to formally launch their new youth cafe provision in my constituency of Wolverhampton West. Amongst the vital services they provide is the government-funded Work Well programme supporting young people to return to education, employment or training. Would the Leader of the House join me in firstly commending the wonderful work that Base 25 does, and does he also agree with me that we need to make more use of community-based organisations like Base 25 to support our schools with SEND provision so that our young people and their families can receive the coordinated and effective help they need to achieve the best possible outcomes?
Madam Deputy Speaker, I certainly join my honourable friend in commending the work of Base 25 and all of their staff and the vital work that they do to support those with SEND. As he is aware, the current SEND system is broken. We are determined to reform it, to transform the life chances of every child with additional needs. But come what may, Madam Deputy Speaker, community organisations will continue to play an important role, an absolutely vital role, not only in supporting those with SEND, but also their families.
Paul Ward.
Madam Deputy Speaker, today is World Book Day, so will the Leader of the House join me in congratulating the winner of my own World Book Day competition, Matilda Mann of Littleborough Community Primary School, for her review, a brilliant review, A Box Full of Murders by Janice Hallett, and congratulate all the local businesses who helped sponsor the
hundreds of pounds of books for our local schools.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend is absolutely right to champion World Book Day. And I absolutely join him in congratulating Matilda and thank all the local businesses who supported the World Book Day competition in his constituency.
Frank McNally.
My constituent, Mr Fraser, a former prison officer, retired in 2020 and has been met with constant barriers and a lack of answers regarding his pension. I've sought clarity on this case but have not received the reason for this unacceptable delay. Like many others, Mr Fraser is facing undisclosed barriers in receiving what he is entitled to. Will my right honourable friend look to find time for a debate about the administration of civil service pensions, in particular the MacLeod remedy, to ensure that Mr Fraser and others receive the pension that they've worked so hard for?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I'm sorry to hear the case that my honourable friend is raised. These delays are simply unacceptable. This is not the service that people deserve, and resolving this is a matter of urgency. If my honourable friend shares the details of this case with me, I will raise it directly with ministers and ensure that he gets a response.
Dave Robertson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My constituents in Burntwood have been waiting for a new GP practice since 2009. Across 16 years of cancellations, missed deadlines and broken promises, people have had to visit their doctor in a temporary facility made out of porta cabins in the Leisure Centre car park. We thought things were going to get better when the town was finally promised the replacement centre would be open in 2025. Yet another deadline that was missed. Revelations this week show that the planning application for that facility will not be submitted until late July or possibly August. It is not acceptable. So can I ask the Leader of the House to raise this issue with ministers in the Department of Health and ask what they can do to tell reform-controlled Staffordshire County Council to get their finger out, stop breaking promises to the people of Burntwood and get this facility built.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My honourable friend is a tireless champion for his constituents and I commend him for that. The NHS has a statutory duty to ensure that there's sufficient medical provision, including GPs, in each local area, and we have confirmed the funding for integrated care boards through to 2030 so that ICBs can plan for the long term. But I join my honourable friend in urging the reform-led council to take their responsibility seriously and listen to the issues that he has raised so powerfully here today.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Many former mine workers in my constituency are entitled to receive a set amount of solid fuel per year. As few homes now rely on coal, some have requested a payment in lieu from the National Concessionary Fuel Office, as they are entitled to do. These requests have often been refused, yet following intervention from my office, they've been subsequently awarded payments. Will the Leader of the House ask ministers to review the work of the National Concessionary Fuel Office to ensure former mine workers in my constituency and across the country receive those payments to which they're entitled?
Deputy Speaker, my honourable friend is a strong campaigner for his constituents, and due to his pressure and pressure from others, last year ministers did agree to relax the continuous facility to burn criteria, which will allow more people to be able to claim cash in lieu. I will make sure that ministers hear his concerns, not just on individual cases, but on how the scheme is actually being administered now, and I'll ensure that he gets a response.
Jeremy.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. English Tourism Week begins next week, running from the 13th to the 22nd of March, aiming to highlight the importance of tourism to the UK economy. As part of English Tourism Week, I look forward to visiting Grimes Graves in my constituency, a Neolithic flint mine in southwest Norfolk operated by English Heritage. Would the leader join me in celebrating the benefit of tourism and consider whether a debate could be held to explore government support for the tourism industry?
Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for highlighting the vital contribution that tourism makes to our national economy. Like him, I am lucky to have a constituency in which is a popular tourist destination and has a large number of attractions, and I would of course encourage people to visit. Grimes Graves is an extraordinary sight, and I'm pleased to hear that he is visiting a historic place in his constituency as part of English Tourism Week, and I'd encourage other members to do the same. I think this would be an interesting topic for a backbench business debate or adjournment debate, should he wish to seek one.
David Smith.
Speaker, the children of Belford Primary School in my constituency recently wrote to me on a range of subjects. One of them said, and I quote, "There are too many people using fossil fuels in Northumberland. It's hurting the Earth's surface and increasing global warming. Please can you encourage people to stop using fossil fuels and walk or bike to more places?" I might add in event the recent week show that we can't rely on fossil fuels either. So does the leader agree with me that the government's plans for Great British Energy will enable the growth of clean local community energy projects in Northumberland and across the country, making us more safe in the process?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I thank my honourable friend for raising this question. The Government is wasting no time in our mission to make Britain a clean energy superpower and tackle the climate crisis, both for people living in his beautiful constituency, but indeed in other parts of the country too. Great British Energy will ensure that British bill payers reap the benefits of clean, secure, homegrown energy, and our local power plant will support over 1,000 local clean energy projects, which is not
holes reported since the beginning of January. There are still 409 holes remaining to be filled, and my constituents in Rugby are furious with the state of the roads in Rugby. The government have put Warwickshire on the amber traffic light for potholes, and that's despite this Labour government putting huge sums of money in, 1.6 billion last year with 25 million for Warwickshire, 7.3 million for local authorities in the budget with an additional 6 million for Warwickshire recently. So can the leader join me in urging the reform-led Warwickshire County Council to get on with using the money provided by this Labour government to fill those potholes, and might he make space in government time for a debate on whether or not local authorities always implement the policies and using the money provided by government that this government hopes they will do?
Very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank my honour. Thank you. Relax. I thank my honourable friend for bringing this important matter to the House. He is right to highlight the action that the government is providing on potholes, providing a record £7.3 billion boost for councils over the next 4 years. I do hope that the reform-led council in Warwickshire hear my honourable friend's contribution today and take action. Otherwise, it will be a further example of reform over-offering and under-delivering. Thank you.
And that concludes business questions. And before we go on to the statement, I have to notify the House, in accordance with the Royal Assent Act 1967, that the King has signified his royal assent to the following acts: Medical Training Prioritisation Act 2026, Rare Cancers Act 2026, Sustainable Aviation Fuel Act 2026. I'll now give the front benches a few moments to catch their breath. Now start the statement. Minister.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I want to update the House on developments in the Middle East. Everyone in this House and across this country will be horrified by what is unfolding, by wave after wave of reckless Iranian missile strikes, by the loss of life, and of course, by the fact that many thousands of British citizens are caught up in this crisis. Let me begin by offering my condolences to the families of civilian casualties from across the region. We stand in solidarity with allies and partners targeted by Iran, and I condemn in the strongest terms these appalling strikes. Madam Deputy Speaker, yesterday I summoned Iran's ambassador to the United Kingdom in response to his country's reckless actions. They must be held accountable, and the safety of British nationals remains my top priority. There are around 300,000 of them in the region that is being targeted by Iranian strikes. These are numbers that reflect the deep ties between Britain and our friends in the Gulf. These countries did not attack Iran. They were not involved in the initial hostilities. And yet they are being subjected to thousands of ballistic missile and drone attacks. There are
will be affected at that time are supported, and I certainly think that that is something I've put on record, I've discussed with the task force, but obviously that will be up for future decision by a future government.
Question number 7, Maggie Chapman.
Thank you. To ask the Scottish Government, in light of the forthcoming International Women's Day, what action it is taking to ensure that Scotland's economy provides women with equitable access to economic opportunity, including how it supports them to live free from poverty and financial inequality.
Deputy First Minister.
Women must have equitable access to economic opportunities, and in April 2025 the gender pay gap for all employees in Scotland was narrower than the UK gap, but we know that more needs to be done. A range of initiatives across government help women to enter and progress in work, such as the expansion of early learning and childcare, parental employability support, and since April 2020 70% of parents supported through No One Left Behind were female. Obviously, employment law is reserved, but our Fair Work approach aims to address women's workplace inequalities by encouraging employers to tackle gender pay gaps.
Maggie Chapman.
I thank the Deputy First Minister for her response, but despite legislation and decades of campaigning for equality, women continue to face discrimination, violence, exclusion and poverty. Engender has called for investment in women and a transformation of our communities. Specifically, they've developed 10 realistic steps to improve the lives of women, covering support for women with no recourse to public funds, social security asks and ensuring our economic strategies work for women. Can the DFM outline the Scottish Government's response to these and how she would work to implement them to ensure that all future economic and social policy considerations contribute to Scotland becoming a global leader on gender equality?
Deputy First Minister.
Those very helpful recommendations. Of course, we also have the First Minister's National Advisory Council on Women and Girls, alongside a number of other plans to support the objectives that Maggie Chapman has just outlined, with responsibility particularly for our approach to the economy. I am proud of the efforts that are being made and the investment that's being made in terms of supporting women to either remain in work or to access employment. And I mentioned our No One Left Behind approach. We're delivering a person-centred, all-age employability offer in every local authority area, and women make up just under 50% of all participants. So there are intersectional barriers to employment that female parents can face in particular, and we need to continue to tackle those.
Brief question 8, Brian Whittle.
Thank you. Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what its response is to reports that the gap between secondary school leavers from the most deprived and least deprived areas going to a positive destination widened to 4.7 percentage points, which is the largest since 2021.
Cabinet Secretary Jenny Gilruth.
Last week's data publication showed that the percentage of school leavers in a positive destination 3 months after the end of the school year was 95.7%, the second highest figure on record. Our most recent SQA exam results show that the pass rate for National 5 and Higher is up when compared to both 24 and the pre-pandemic results of 2019. The attainment gap has narrowed for National 5, Higher and Advanced Higher compared to last year, and the 24-25 Achievement of Curriculum for Excellence levels published in December demonstrate record levels of literacy and numeracy are being achieved in Scotland's primary schools. This welcome progress demonstrates that this Government's approach to education is delivering results for Scotland's young people.
Brian Whittle.
Presiding Officer, can I first take a moment to welcome Scottish Apprenticeship Week and the vital opportunities it creates. However, Scotland is currently missing out on 5,000 high-quality nuclear jobs because the Government refuses to back new projects or include nuclear in its energy skills passport. Furthermore, funding gaps are forcing colleges to turn away qualified students, including 71 qualified social care applicants and 400 engineer apprenticeships at Ayrshire College alone. Does the Government accept that its policy choices are actively disadvantaging our school leavers by restricting their opportunities?
Cabinet Secretary.
I thank Mr Whittle for his question and for his warm welcome for Scottish Apprenticeship Week. I'm sure, like me, he was out visiting a local business this week in his own area, supporting the important work of apprenticeships in our communities. And of course, the government's budget, which Mr Whittle was not able to vote for, provided extra funding for more apprenticeships, but it also provided extra funding for Scotland's colleges, which has been welcomed by the sector. And I'm sorely concerned that Mr Whittle was not able to vote for that budget, and I hope he will be able to reflect on that and the positivity that this extra investment in communities like his has brought to apprenticeship.